ओके, तो सबको एडमिट कर दूं। यहाँ पर अर्चना मैम का तो दिख नहीं रहा है किसी का नाम, या है यहाँ पर अर्चना मैम? ठीक है।
Sit. Who is introducing? Please sit. Here only. Wear masks. Shoes out and wear masks. Masks. Sir, are we audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see all of us?
Good afternoon, sir.
It is going live on YouTube now, is it?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So I have created one more link, and through which the people can see.
All right. So you linked it to this link and something like that?
No, so the link what you might have shared, that has already used, because as soon as you stop the YouTube, sorry, stop the Zoom, that link also stops.
Okay. So we've logged in with the same user ID and password again, right?
Yeah, for Zoom it will work. For YouTube, I have created one more link.
Okay. All right, sir. Sir, can you forward us that link?
Yeah, I'll do that.
To put it on the chat and say that these people can view the entire session live on YouTube on that link.
Okay.
Right. Thank you, sir. We are just waiting for our guests to join in. Please close the door.
Ma'am, ये link मैंने इसमें I have put in a chat. Do you want me to send it to somebody via mail also?
Sir, it's okay. Thank you. I'll take it from the chat, sir.
Okay. Shall I make you host and then?
Yes, sir.
Priyanka ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Shall I make you host?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And right now the spotlight video is on this camera where all of you are sitting.
Yes.
So even if somebody else picks the Zoom, the recording, and the YouTube will not capture that. So you have to remove the spotlight before you start a session.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you need my help on that, you can let me know. Otherwise, you can simply go to the screen and there's an option called remove spotlight. Priyanka ma'am, you are the host now.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And right now, this camera is on a spotlight, so you have to remove that when the speaker starts speaking.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Pandey has joined us. We can start.
Ready? Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Pranav Thakkar. So, since today morning, we had deliberations on future of social work. Morning speakers were Mr. Brajesh Chaudhary and the President of NAPSWI, Dr. Sanjay Bhatt. Now, in the afternoon session, we will have three members who will be speaking about the future of social work. Dr. Soni Kunjappan, Dr. Meena Kaliara, and Dr. Bansidhar Pandey. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Shivani Agarwal, who is the senior social work student at Navrachna University. She will introduce Dr. Bansidhar Pandey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pranav. It's been a pleasure to call Dr. Bansidhar Pandey, sir. Before that, I would like to introduce him. Dr. Bansidhar Pandey is currently working at Department of Social Work and Dean Faculty of Students Welfare at Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth of Varanasi. He has also been an alumnus in Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth with specialization of early and child welfare. He was majorly interested in child development and protection, youth development, guidance and counseling. He had published more than 60 research papers and completed 9 research projects. He had been awarded for more than 13 awards in PhD guidance. He had been more than in 155 seminars, in conferences, workshops and webinars. He has held many positions in his career, that is, SS Coordinator, Second Chief University Employment Information and Guidance Bureau, Coordinator of University Campus Placement Cell, Deputy Chief Protector, and Assistant Director of Field. Thank you. Over to you, sir. Please, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for this nice webinar, which is organized by Navrachna University. So, good afternoon, each and everyone. Respected faculty members of Navrachna University, my fellow colleagues, dear participant, my dearest students, and other viewers from various parts of the country and abroad too. A very famous proverb, well begin is half done. And when Professor Bhatt has spoken, it is not half done, but it is completed. But if anything, if left, they may be fulfilled by my worthy friend Dr. Soni Kunjappan Sahab and other my fellow colleague who are going to speak in this session. So my duty is only to just fill the gap and will try to fill it. I hope next few minutes with all of yours will give me opportunity to learn many things. Today, I'm also grateful to the Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir of this university and all faculty members of Navrachna University for inviting me to this prestigious national webinar. Friends, it is an honor to be here with you today in the national webinar on future of social work. So once again, I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers who have given me the opportunity to be a part of this important webinar. I also would like to congratulate and thank the organizer for choosing a very relevant topic for this webinar. The history of social work indicates that this profession has always given better results in difficult circumstances. And I hope presently when the whole world is struggling with COVID-19 pandemic, it is expedient and necessary to discuss the possible role of social work in India and all over the world as well. And when there will be discussion or debate about the future of social work, then those dimensions have to be seen, which is important from this point of view. Before talking about these dimensions, it seems appropriate to look at what is said by the various organizations of the world about the future of social work in recent past. International Federation of Social Work said that social work has an essential frontline role in the fight against the spread of coronavirus through supporting communities, protect themselves and others through physical distancing and social solidarity. International Federation of Social Work also point out some key functions of social work at this time, which includes the first one is ensuring that most vulnerable are included in planning and response, as far as the planning and as far as the response. The second one is organizing communities to ensure that essentials such as food and clean water are available. The third one is advocating with social services and its policy environments that services adapt, remain open and proactive in supporting communities and vulnerable population as well. The fourth one is facilitating physical distancing and social solidarity. And the fifth one is, as a profession, advocating for the advancement and the strengthening of health and social services as an essential protection against the virus, inequality, and the consequent social economic challenge. But it is very early to say each and everything which has been given by the International Federation of Social Work. Maybe differ in different countries. National Association of Social Workers, which is everybody know that it is a very premier professional organization of United States of America, has been working on multiple fronts to present the spread of COVID-19 and ensure access to services such as teletherapy, social work are in a unique position to promote disease prevention effort and to help address anxiety and other concerns that are arising as a result of this public crisis. NSW also mentioned few resources to support social worker in this role. The one is COVID-19 advocacy. It means what? That is to advocate for social workers and the people they serve throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Second one is legal resources. Many legal questions related to social work practice have arisen during the COVID-19 pandemic. It is not only in USA, it is in India too. These legal resources are intended to provide guidance and information to social workers as they work to support the people and communities they serve during the challenging times. We have many legal issues we have seen in last few months comes regarding the uh, workers, regarding the laborers, regarding the migrant workers, regarding the domestic violence issues, regarding the employers issues, regarding the school going children, so many things. So this is the important part, that is a legal resource. The third one is helping people in special populations like people with disabilities and older person, children, immigrants, people who are incarcerated, people in recovery from alcohol disorders or other addiction. The fourth one is telehealth, which include Medicare, legal and practice resources for social worker, teletherapy to college students who may have moved out of a state temporarily due to pandemic. And in our states where I belong from, that is in Uttar Pradesh, the problem of college students is very big. They are very confused. They are very much intended to know what will be their career. They are on the crossroads and they are nobody has come forward to talk with them. So they are in big problems. So we have to understand the problem of college students and we must address. And as being social workers, it is a responsibility of ours to student the youth, especially the youths who are college going students and those who are in the need of job or those who are seeking the job. The other resources is supporting clients of social worker, those clients which we have working before this pandemic. So we have to support the client in other ways also. like on professional front, we have to see the problem in the light of COVID-19. The next one is learn about the coronavirus. Social workers should learn about the coronavirus because many things, small things are very important, which we can understand and make understand the other people too. The next one is self-care by the social worker of himself or herself. As in the previous session, Professor Bhatt already mentioned that we have to work with community and we must be ready to face the challenges in the community. So it is important to we have to learn about the self-care skills and self-care strategies. As being social worker, we understand the ongoing need of take care of ourselves and each other as we meet the many challenges to our work. The very important thing is the ethical consideration. Can social worker able to consider their ethics in this condition or after the pandemic, which is new normal? And the last one, but not least, that is the issue of workforce, like workers' right during the COVID-19 and the rights of migrant worker, those workers who have not registered even as the worker and they are working somewhere. So this is what that the many association of worldwide or one of two organization of worldwide said what will the future of social work and what will be the role of social worker in future, maybe different type. The profession of social work stands at the nexus of immense opportunities and incredible challenges. At the one part we have opportunity, on the other part we have challenges, and on the other part we have problems too. This profession has a long tradition as an activity appealing to nations and feelings to common humanity, both as philanthropy and as radical social change. However, it has a relatively short history as an established profession in many countries and as an evolving profession in our country and as an evolving academic discipline too. So we don't have very long history. We have very short history as far as the other discipline concerned. They have very long history. They have their roots very long back ago, 400 year, 500 year, or even 600 years. But our profession in India, as we all know, we don't have very long history. The current manifestation of social work, but before this pandemic, current certainly in society that are considered to be social democracies has been shaped by the welfare bureaucracies that employ social worker in large numbers. But in developing countries like ours, social work remains a largely informal activity. I again underline that is a largely informal activity, often associated with broader social and political movements. So we are still treated as an informal sector, not as a formal sector. Even social work is not treated as the profession. We don't have any council, and even we don't have any professional association, which have a large numbers. After COVID-19, the role of social work in India will increase in some area in future. But it is a type of prediction only. It is very early to say what will be the role of what will be the social work in future. But what we are talking about future, that is future of 1 year or future of 10 year or future of 24th century. So we have to just categorize the future term, future for 1 year, future for 2 year, or future for 5 year. Then again, future for whom? It is a future for students, future for the current professionals, future for the practitioners, or future for those who are just wishing to come in the area of social work, those who are aspiring that they will be the student of social work. So we can just think about it. And taking these assumptions, we can stress some areas for the social work practice in future in India. This is not very, I can say, fact based. This is just certain assumptions that social work maybe their role in future in these particular areas or in those areas where I am going to just highlight it. The most demanding area or the most important area about which all the person in these days are talking about, like health. Health is a big area, especially public health, because we have a very bright role and bright future for the students in the public health. But we have to understand the public health. Reading one book on the health, it is not the specialization of health or public health. We have to understand the concept of public health. We have to introduce public health in our curricula and syllabi, and with a very impressive part of the syllabus include public health. I have seen the syllabus of many university, and public health doesn't get many place in their syllabi or curriculum. So this is important key. We are saying that this will be a possible area or future for the social work is health and public health, but we don't teach public health in our syllabi. Then how a student will get trained in public health area? But anyhow, this is important that the health and public health is going to be a very important area, a very important dimension as far as the new social worker or the youth social worker or young social worker concerned. The other area which is very closely associated to health is hygiene. And when our Prime Minister said earlier that Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, we didn't take it so seriously. Now, in these days, everyone knows the what is sanitizer, what will be the role of sanitizer, how to sanitize. The word sanitize, we didn't know even in 2019. The word sanitize is very beautifully known by the each and everyone, even in the rural area. So hygiene is going to be a very important issue for the social worker. Again, it is a very good area which we can practice and social worker can involve in this. The area which we had practiced, the area which we are practicing, the area which is very important for practice in coming days, that is counseling. Individual counseling, group counseling, career counseling. If we include guidance with this, then counseling and guidance is going to be a very good area. In those days, counseling of, in these days, we have used the counseling for our students in university. We have used counseling for many families. We used counseling for the migrant worker who returned back to their home. So counseling is a very effective tool, and counseling is very effective area too. So we can treat counseling as a tool, as an area both. The other important area which is going to be important, that is intervention with migrant workers. Migrant worker is the name and term which used maximum in newspapers, in newses, and in our daily discussion, and as the deliberation and the webinars in last 3 months. And we can also call it in last 4 months. So migrant worker is going to be a big clientele group for the social workers in coming days or in coming days. So we have to think about the how we can help the migrant worker in coming days. What will happen when reverse migration will start? What we will do for the migrant worker, unskilled worker, how we put the quality life in their lives, how we put quality in their lives in coming future. So this is again an important issue. Advocacy, advocacy of government personnel, advocacy of policy makers, and advocacy of many people at local level as well as at state and national level, and whenever it is required at global level. So advocacy is very important uh, thing, or we can say advocacy is an important area, or advocacy is very promising area for the social worker, not only in India, not only in any state, but in all the world. Again, I'm again repeating that the role of social worker in schools. In our country, school social work is not very much promoted till date. But after this pandemic, the role of social worker will increase. But we have to understand कि रोल स्कूल सोशल वर्कर का जो होगा वो साइकोलॉजिस्ट का होगा, क्लिनिकल साइकोलॉजिस्ट का होगा, या प्रोफेशनल सोशल वर्कर का होगा. दैट इज द बिग इशू, बिकॉज वी ऑल नो states don't recognize us as the professional counselors or as the school social workers, or even in new national education policy the social worker term used many times, but not as we think that is the social worker in some different ways. They have the social worker, they use the term social worker, clinical psychologist is social worker, maybe sociologist is social worker, and social worker to social worker hai, he is or she is the social worker. So role of social work in schools is going to increase, but how? Personally, I don't know. We have to think about it. Self-care of social worker. If you are teaching in the class, we must teach the student how to care yourself. And many of us didn't teach us. Didn't teach even ki how care of social worker has to be taken by themselves or by the others. So again, it is an important issue. That is a self-care of the social workers. Legal help to the others, and legal help to social worker to how to intervene in the condition and how to be safe in these conditions. So legal help is another issue. Again, work with person with disability. Again, we don't have the any specialization in disability even till date. In my university, I don't know about the other universities, but disability is a big issue. And in these conditions, disability, again, they are the most vulnerable section of the society in this pandemic. So disability has to be addressed. Now, domestic violence issues, we learn, many studies has shown that the rate of domestic violence increased. I don't know why, they have the reasons, but sometimes we also think about that they should be decreased, but it has increased. There are many reasons. People who are living at home and they have the issues. So after this, we will see many issues regarding domestic violence, many issues regarding violence. So we have to prepare to deal with the domestic violence issues. Working with communities to ensure food and water facilities. Food is good, and water, that is means clean water and drinking water. And as I said, the family issues, not only the domestic violence, but the family relation issues is also important issue in coming future for the social workers. I will take another 5 minutes only to conclude my deliberation. And the next part of this is the role of academic institution in future. What would be the role of academic institution in coming futures? As being the teacher or professors of the academic institution, we always said many things, but in very few times we thought about our responsibility and we talk about our responsibility. What should be the role of academic institution in future, we can talk about the more focused field work. And the field work should be focused on the skill development of the student, as well as the skill of the student according to the need of the field and practice. If the field is required, the counselor most, we have to teach them counseling and their skill, their develop their skill or enhance their skill of counseling. If advocacy is required, we have to teach about the advocacy, and we have to provide them chance to practice the advocacy during their masters or bachelors. The next one, which is important, and I think more universities and most of the university will do that, that is the change and modification in curriculum according to the current need, and which should be the more community oriented. The time has come when we have to think about the community based practices, and the curriculum should be designed according to the need of community. We have to map the key trends. We have means the academic institution. Academic institution should map the key trends for the better employment and for the better opportunity for the students, to provide them better job and better opportunity. Otherwise, the student will get confused whether he or she has to be placed. Next one is attention should be given to leadership development, communication, technology part, and many things for the students, which we are not taking very seriously. We have not been very serious about the leadership development, communication development, and technological development of the student. I'm not talking about the number one or number two or A grade institution of our country, which are very few, 2 or 3 or 4. I'm talking about the other institutions or the other departments of social work, which is being run in the university premises or college premises. They have to think about the leadership development, skill development programs, communication development programs, technological development of the students, because we never thought, we only thinking about what is the key part of the social work, what is the theoretical part of the social work, and the students, the missing content is the leadership, missing content is the communication, missing part is the how a student will reach the community, how to communicate with the community, and how to understand the community. So we have to include these things in our curricula, syllabi, or in our fieldwork curriculum. And social workers should focus traditional areas, but emerging areas should also be taken into consideration. When our students come to us, we will teach them that your career will be in non-governmental organization, in international organization, either in teaching, research. There are certain arenas where social workers are required, and we have to identify such area and develop the skill of the student according to the need and according to the need of such new dimensions or such new areas where they are going to employ. And last but not least in this part, that is a need of common minimum syllabi in India specifically. We should have a common feature of all the university and colleges of their syllabi, and the other part is according to the local need. We are suffering as far as the syllabi is concerned. Theoretical part is quite okay, but as far as the fieldwork is concerned, as far as the component of fieldwork concerned, we have variety of thoughts and variety of issues. Some institution is 5 component of fieldwork, some institution have only 1 or 2 components of fieldwork, someone is doing only concurrent fieldwork, someone is doing only other type of fieldwork, and in some institutions, block fieldwork or summer placement, we can say it is of 45 days, in some institution it is 60 days, in some institution it is 30 days. And I have seen such institutions where there is no block fieldwork at all. So we have to think about the common syllabi. We have to think about the common fieldwork syllabus. We have to think about the common skill development keys, and we have to think about the new arenas of the social work practice for the student, which will give them more confidence and more learned person. And one more thing, which is important, and that is the role of professional associations in future. I have seen in those countries where social work has the status of profession, because they have a very rich and very effective professional association, which we don't have. Our personal conflicts, our personal ambitions, and I don't know many things. And many of us know why we don't have very good institution and very good professional institution, because our interest classes. So taking these things in mind, we have to develop the professional association. Without this, we are not doing anything. We are just closing our eyes and just getting something. By chance, you can get it, otherwise, you won't. That is all we are doing. That is trial and error. We don't have any mechanism. We don't have scientific mechanism. And this will be done only by professional association. So the role of professional association is very important in future. If we have to secure a bright future, greater future, we have to be a very good and very effective role. We have to hand together and need a very good professional association, and professional association should guide the practitioners, students, professionals, and teachers, and that will be the future and bright future of the social. So many critical questions before us as being teacher, as being practitioner. Only two I am just putting here, and then I will complete my presentation. The first one is, how might social work education prepare students for the use of technology in teaching, learning, and practices? I'm not talking about Tata Institute of Social Sciences or any other institution who have very good system, I thought. But what about the other institution, the institution who is in the rural area and doing the giving the degree of MSW, which is equivalent to other MSW degree, but they don't have the technology, they don't have the effective teaching system, they don't have the effective learning system, and they do not have the very good fieldwork practice system. So the question is, again, I am saying, how might social work education prepare students for the use of technology in teaching, learning, and practice? And the second one is, how might social work education prepare students for the ethical use of big data? Because in these days, we also keep talking about big data. So these are some observation which I have made during last 2 or 3 months. And once again, thank you very much to all the organizers for providing me such type of opportunity to share my views with many of the academicians and practitioners and students. And I will happy to answer the question if you have any. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, it was a privilege to hear from you. We hope to listen to you more often in near future. So now we are open for questions. So if any of the participants have questions, they can raise their hand or write it in the chat box.
Sir, I have a question. Yes. Sir, as you talked about that there are variety of issues and there are variety of associations, as you talked about international scenario, but we don't have that strong network. Even if we want to do something at a local level, we are not getting any kind of support from people. So in those situations, how are we going to go about for doing social work?
Listen, if I give an example of my department, we have a slum near to our university, which is, I think, half an kilometer from our university and our department. And we have been working since 50 years with these slums, but they are in the same condition. And we used to say that is, it is our fieldwork agency. Which type of relation we have met with them, I am really confused. So we are not making the relation with people. We are just doing our duty, and which is minimum. So we have to make relation. If we make relation with people, the association will strengthen. But people are trying, but not trying at that level. Students are not very clear how to make relation and how to develop the awareness among people. What is the social work? If I visit to some of the department of my university and ask the other people, for example, for the people of political science, then you know what is social work? He says something which is not social work. So the people who are just in uh, which is my neighboring department, he or she doesn't know social work, then how the other people of social work? I don't know about the other university. Can we have any program who aware the professors of university who are from other subject that they will know the social work? They don't. So if they don't, how other people know? How people come to me to know about what is their problem? They have the problem, and we have the specific knowledge or a specific skill, but there is a gap. And first we have to fulfill the gap, and to fulfill the gap we must have a very strategic plan. We can do it through our field work. We can do it with some other projects, and we have to educate the government also. We have make some other paraprofessionals, we can say, like the people from psychology, the people from health background, people from medicine, people from engineering. And we should organize a common meeting that people should know. If a people go to, if a patient go to doctor, he can refer to us that this is the role of social worker. If people go to psychology people, he or she will refer to us that this is the role of social worker. But we didn't do that, and I think we are not doing this. We have many things, but we are not doing. We are just doing, I'll say, na, we are very duty conscious. Not we are emotional people, not we are emotionally connected people with our community. And if we don't connect emotionally with the people, with the passion, this problem will remain so.
True, sir. Sir, one student has a question. How can we move technology to rural areas without government help?
Can you please repeat a question? I have a
How can we move technology to rural areas without government help?
yes, that is a big question, because always we thought that online classes, online things, and we have surveyed in our university, only 66% student were access to online classes, because rest 33% don't have the even a smartphone to connect with these things. So that is very rightly said by anyone, ki without taking help with the government, without taking help with the local people, and without taking help by the, I think, the local machinery or local governance, we will not able to uh, use this technology. But listen, few things. We use community radio, which we are not using. Community radio may be very effective program as far as the teaching is concerned and learning. Community radio we don't have in our university, maybe in other university, but we can't. So this is the concept. Local radio channels, local TV channels, and local things, we can do it through them. We are just thinking about the online classes and online thing, but we never try to reach with the local radio stations, local FM channels. We don't have community radio. Community radio शुरू करने में कोई बहुत investment नहीं होती है. It is a very low cost. हम कर सकते हैं. Instead की we have a very good online platform, but we don't have community radio. So we can do it with our some own efforts as well as, but it is right that without taking the help of government, it is, I don't think it is impossible, but it is very difficult to use the technology for those students who are residing in the rural area, or for those colleges who are in the rural area, or those person who are living in the rural area as with a low income group, or with very remote areas, those who are living. This is basically, we can say that is the challenge before us. How we meet the challenge, we have to think, and we have to, because we need a strategical planning. What is going on? The examination will held tomorrow. The examination is now suspended. In these circumstances, in these confusion, we can't survive. So we have to be a firm policy. We have to be a strategical planning. We have some strategy, then we can do this. Otherwise, we will fail, definitely.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one of our faculty, Ms. Priyanka Shah, has questioned how social workers are today with advocacy roles and using development communication as a tool.
Ma'am, what I got, you are asking about the communication development and the other part, what you have said.
Sir, today with advocacy roles and
Yes.
communication.
Okay, advocacy and communication. Listen, advocacy is required not only at policy level, it is on local level too. Advocacy with SDM, advocacy at block level officer, advocacy at village level officer, because village development officer, he has the power, he has the authority, but how it is useful the client, how it is useful our client, it is not important. It is, so advocacy is the term which very undermined by the people. And I think social action and advocacy, that is important one at the local level and at the state level and at the national level. As far as the communication is concerned, we are teaching communication. But communication at community level, communication in local languages, communication as far as the verbal communication, written communication, gesture, and many things we are missing. So both we need to include not only in theoretical, but in our fieldwork syllabi, fieldwork curriculum. We have to give the task to a student regarding the advocacy. We have to organize the plays or a street play or anything. We can use the ICT material for teaching a student advocacy and communication, and through practices in fieldwork, we can develop the advocacy.
Okay, sir.
Sir, you said that there should be some common kind of curriculum because there are different organizations which are having different types of and different schedules of their fieldwork. Their fieldwork settings are also different. On one hand, when you are saying that there should be this common kind of a curriculum, I also see issues that are differential in this country in different areas. So, just throw some light. How can we go for a common curriculum in such a diverse country where issues from even state to state sort of vary?
Very right, ma'am. Actually, what I would like to say and what I wanted to say, I think I was not able to communicate. There is some part of the social work which is necessary for each and everyone. So we should include these things in curriculum of each and every institution. Then the second thing is the local need and local issues. So rest part will be based on the local need and local issue. And that about the field work. There are some certain contents and certain issues which is required for each and every student. Then the few thing which is required only for few students or only for the students. For example, if any state has the tribal population like Chhattisgarh, like Odisha, like Jharkhand, so tribal issues are important for them. But the state like mine, Uttar Pradesh, where only point some percent population is tribe, the tribal issues is important. The priority is not to tribal issues, but to some other issue. But basics of social work, theories of social work, skills required for the social worker, this is the common content for each and everyone. Rest 20% or 30% syllabi will be developed on the local need and the state need. And same about the field work. Field work, I saw many, not I'm talking about those universities or there are variety of mushrooming college which they are giving the degree of MSW and PSW. They don't have any developed fieldwork system. For example, distance course in Bachelor of Social Work. Distance course not by the IGNOU or not by the other university, it is recognized distance course by a residential university. How they will give the fieldwork training to their student. And now when they issue the degree, there is no question on their degree. They are BSW, they are master degree, they are MSW. Then how we say that they have completed the masters in social work without doing any fieldwork practice? At least those institutions who are running fieldwork with their curriculum 4 hours per day or 5 hours per day or 20 hours or 18 hours or at least 24 hours in a week. But I know plenty of organization, plenty of colleges where fieldwork curriculum is not following. They don't have any fieldwork system. I'm talking about such institution and such colleges. They need to include the fieldwork and fieldwork content in their syllabi. Otherwise, it's okay. There must be difference, and this difference should be respected according to the area, according to the need, and according to the, I think, issues. But some basics of social work should be should be taught to all the students. Some basic of field work should be the part of all the curriculum. After this, we can develop other things according to local needs. That's why I wanted to say actually.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, ma'am, please.
So what? Yeah. So what do you think is the strength of social workers in these times?
I can't say we have many strength. The first thing that we have the idea how to work in the community. We know some counseling skills. We learn some tools and techniques which is important for the field. We have the specialization in health, we have a specialization in community health, we have a specialization in counseling, we have the paper of counseling, we learn advocacy at least, we learn social care at least, we know social justice, we know many things, and most importantly, we have a specialization of which is related to labor, migrant labor, industrial workers, and many things. So this is the strength which the social work have. And the other thing, that social workers know that they have to work with the community people, they have to work with the problematic people. And now the area where the after this pandemic, people will come to the social worker. This is opportunity and this is challenge too. We have to deal with them because the society is not going to free us. They will ask with us what social worker are doing after this pandemic, what social worker are doing in this pandemic. One of my colleague is asking, doctors are in the field, policemen of the in the field, many doctors have died, many policemen had died, but no one from the social work fraternity died in this COVID effect. It means that social workers were not in the field. This is our weakness actually. But we have certain strength, which we talked. So we have to develop our strength so that key we will able to say that we are the strength person, we are the able person, and we can do the miracles in the field. But at times we have to think that can we do? This is the important question, and this is the valid question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Rizwan Ali, who is senior social work student at Navratna University, to introduce Dr. Soni Kunjappan.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. It is my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Soni Kunjappan, sir, who has done MA in Social Work from Tata Institute of Social Science and PhD from Law and Governance from Jawaharlal Nehru University. He is the coordinator and assistant professor, Center for Studies in Social Management, and coordinator, MA in Social Work School Level Program. His area of specializations and research interests are social work in education, governance, criminology, police studies, criminal justice, social work, and human rights. He has done his MPhil at the Center for Study of Law and Governance, Jawaharlal Nehru University. In 2006 June, he qualified University Grant Commission National Eligibility Test UGC NET from Mumbai. In 1997 2002, Kerala Agricultural University College for Veterinary and Animal Sciences at Meenakshi. He worked as an assistant professor at the Central University of Gujarat, Gandhinagar since August 2010. He is also the visiting faculty at Raksha Shakti University, Ahmedabad since August 2015. Research assistant, research team member at the School of Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council at Canada for 6 months. And trainer consultant for training of organizational leaders at Labour Commission at New Delhi. He is presently coordinator, Center for Studies in Social Management, and coordinator, MA in Social Work, Social Level Program, School Level Program. He was the chairperson from 13th December 2013 to 29th January 2015, Center for Studies in Social Management, School of Social Sciences, Central University of Gujarat. Academic board member of the department. He has written 4 books, member of Board of Studies from 2015 to 2017, Center for Studies in Economics Development and Planning, School of Social Sciences, Central University of Gujarat. He is also the member and ad hoc member of Board of Studies, Department of Criminology, Raksha Shakti University, Government of Gujarat. He has received Social Justice Medal from Honorable Chief Justice of India on the International Women's Day. He has also received MK Tata Scholarship for the Department of Criminology and Correctional Administration from Tata Institute of Social Science from Mumbai. We welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak on future of social work. First of all, I take this opportunity to thank Professor Sanjay Bhatt, the president of NAPSI, as well as the professor at Delhi School of Social Work. I also take this opportunity to thank Professor Nilay Yagnik, Professor Anil, Mr. Brajesh, Dr. Archana Tomar. Thank you all for conceptualizing an important theme for this webinar, that is the future of social work. My panelist, Dr. Banshidhar Pandey, has already set the ball rolling, wherein he has outrightly spoken on certain aspects and certain concerns that social work or social work education and practice needs to focus. So before getting into the future of social work, let me bring to the table two important goals of education. There is not just social work education, but education in the larger context. As stated by Professor Yuval Noah Harari, a historian and philosopher, in his 21 Lessons for 21st Century, which has been published in 2018, where he talks about two important goals of education in the long run, in the 21st century, that we as social work educators, not only social work educators, higher education or education in larger context, needs to focus. They are, one is to develop emotional intelligence, and the second one is to have a mental balance. And these two are very specific and very core to social work education. This is to help constantly reinvent ourselves so that we as human could adapt to situations and the change of trends in jobs. Not only in jobs, as in the morning session, Dr. Archana Tomar, as well as Professor Sanjay Bhatt, we're talking about change in syllabus, change in fieldwork settings, and these aspects on social work education. Yes, that is what where the relevance of social work education becomes more important. In his another book, I'm talking about Professor Yuval Noah Harari, where the same author talks about Sapiens, a brief history of mankind. It was published in 2011, where Professor Harari explains why human runs the world. He says that human can cooperate flexibly in large numbers. I'm taking the example of other two, this thing like honeybee, where they can rigidly cooperate. That means that flexibility is not there. And if you compare to chimpanzees, they can cooperate flexibly, but not in large numbers, in small numbers. Here lies the importance of social work education. Why? Because all these aspects of emotional intelligence, mental balance, to cooperate, to flexibly engage, and in large numbers are being taught to all of us through our principles, the techniques, the skill sets, as well as those interventions that case for group work and community organizations that we engage with. So it is now very clear, the historians talking about there is a future for social work. Now, in these components, in these discussions, we all, especially I'm addressing the students of social work, we are very clear that there is a great scope for the future of social work. We could say that there is future for social work, provided that there are certain sets of concern. In the morning discussion also, these came up, that we as social work educators and practitioners together reflect and address the same. The profession of social work stands, as earlier said, at the nexus of immense opportunities, as I have told it earlier. And there are lots of challenges that are coming across. Now, what are the challenges in general of social work profession and its practice? As we all know, demographic trends and rising economic inequalities are increasing demand for social work services, particularly for the most vulnerable population. At the same time, there are issues of fund cutting and threatened threatening the budgets of social security and social service aspects. I'm talking in general. This is in the context of a general discussion. The third aspect is about the rapid growth of technology that is affecting society as well as our profession. Will, in the earlier discussion also, this came in, and I'm just expanding on that aspects. Will technology offer solutions to these enduring problems, or only serve to further aggravate the social and digital divide? We all know, because we as teachers now, when we engage, especially in our university, when we engage with students through classes during this lockdown period, most of the cases, there are issues with regard to access to internet, access to technology, and access to information. So these are there is a digital divide that is happening. So there was a question that has also come in. We will discuss those questions if at all there is some discussions towards the end. Now, if we look into specifically the major concerns or issues that needs to be addressed in social work education and practice, I'm just pointing out bulleting out certain points that social work education and profession, or education and practice, that needs to look into or prioritize, so that we can concentrate on some of these, so that our profession of social work, or there is a future that comes across to it. The first thing which I would put it across is to strengthening our graduation level of social work education. And this has to be done across all universities and colleges where at present we are having social work education. So that would be, and I will discuss about integrated 5-year integrated program which is being offered at our university, that is Central University of Gujarat, which is called 5-year MA in Social Management program, that has a 5-year distinct, which has a major component of social work into it, and that has been initiated in 2010 by the demand of government of Gujarat as well as the government of India then. So that we will discuss in detail. So I'm talking about the importance or the needs of social work practitioners in a different arena and in a development sector, with a demand from the government that has been arisen, and that's how this program has floated, the 5-year integrated MA in social work, social management program. Likewise, I would suggest that one of the things that as social work, in the future of social work, we need to strengthen our graduation level of social work education across all universities and colleges. The next one is about contextualization of social work education and practice. Yes, this was discussed through a questions. Professor Pandey has answered to a great extent. What I meant here is to work with the community wherein the institution is located. I come from an institution called Tata Institute of Social Science. When I did my first years of social work, field work, I was placed in Dharavi slums. Now, if I go there back till now, that community is still there. Likewise, there is no, as what Professor Pandey and Professor Bhatt has stated earlier, there is no relationship that has been built to empower that community, to engage that community to a greater extent, or bring that community to a different level. The Tata Institute of Social Science is one of the premier institutions in this country. If you look into the social work, I'm not blaming that. They have done a wonderful job as far as social work education in this country is concerned, or in Asia is concerned. But I'm talking about contextualizing of social work education and practice in the context that wherever the institution is located, there needs to be a serious engagement with the community to ensure that we empower the community around which the institutions of social work is institution of social work is located. And how do we rebuild their systems for access to resources for their local citizens there? So that is where we could cooperate collectively and flexibly in large numbers. So this is, again, I'm with a caution or with a note in which I'm saying I'm not undermining the institutions or this thing. This is a self-reflection that we as social work educators that we need to look into, that we need to look that how do we strengthen or how do we contextualize so that as social work how can we take it to a different level, not just for the learning or teaching purpose alone. Now, the other aspect which Professor R.R. Singh and many other eminent scholars or social work educators have talked about. In India, the specialization of social works or the areas of social works are very much limited. Yes, it's a budding profession, it's a budding area. But even this past few years, why can't we think about, at least from now onwards, since we are thinking about future of social work, can we think about around 10 to 15 set of specific or specialized area where certain areas already, which has been by my panelist, Professor Pandey, has already listed out certain areas. Can we think about certain areas of social work practice and interventions, especially understanding the context of that particular location of the institutions, identify those specialized areas. One example, and develop SOP manuals for field practices as their settings, both by expert at that area as well as social work educators. Now, let me bring to you another example where at Tata Institute of Social Science recently, around a few months back, we were able to have a meeting or an engagement of criminal justice social work as an area of social work practice by Professor Vijay Raghavan, Center for Criminology and Justice at Tata Institute of Social Science, along with Prayas. And we had met with many of the social work educators from across across our country, tried to bring around 35 to 40 of them who are working in criminal justice social works to deliberate on how we could strengthen the criminal justice social works. And one of the outcome or recommendation was to have a detailed field work manual for social work practice at criminal justice social work settings, like the correctional institutions, the police, the courts, and the juvenile justice, how student social workers can have a detailed field work manual. Why I'm bringing this in this context of future of social work webinar is to have a detailed fieldwork manual for each of our identified specialization or areas, so that we can say that that practice is unique to it, and we can engage with those sections or those areas or those specializations in a more creative and meaningful way. Now, the other aspects, I'm just trying to point out certain points to bring it out so that we could reflect on, not just, we don't want to end up with this future of social work seminar alone, but from here, because we have people from NAPSI, we have senior professors, we have student social workers. From here, what all we could think, we could be able to know. Many of the student social workers are here. They will be able to know that there is an association working, and what is the role of that association, and how could we strengthen it as a body. So the next point, which I'm putting it across, there are 17 professional councils across at our country to regulate the quality in their respective disciplines. For example, medical council, law council, etc. Likewise, we need to have a body to, because these are all being discussed by several of them. But I'm just putting in a more proper point-wise way. From this webinar, where can we go to ensure that there is a safe future of social work in a more systematic manner? A body to monitor or to regulate the social work education. It could be a council or a regulatory body specific to social work, education, and practice. Now, when I say this, I'm saying in the context of two review committees of the UGC, model curriculum of social work education, we already have. We have the NAC, this standards, which has been prepared by Tata Institute of Social Sciences. All of these attempts have been done by the UGC, and there are several attempts being done by NAPSI and other local level, other associations also. But as rightly pointed out by the president NAPSI, the membership is not that critical, or we need to have more number of members to it. So as well as we need to have a planned strategy to ensure that how do we ensure that this council is happening, and council with a detailed skill sets that is specific to each of these specialization in terms of their field work manual, and how do we regulate the quality of social work education and practice. I would like to bring certain points here. Maybe it is recorded, so but still I would want to say there is in 2017 we at Central University of Gujarat has initiated a program called MA in Social Work, where in the initial discussion itself we stated that there needs to be teachers who should teach social work from social work background itself. Yes, we can have supporting courses coming in from other faculties. This was in 2017. I'm just giving an example of a Central University where we initiated this program of MA in social work. In the discussion itself, when it passed in the different board of studies and academic council and all, it was very clearly noted that it needs to be at the end of the school board meetings and all. It was clearly mentioned that it needs to have teachers from social work background. But what has happened ultimately when it came out, when it has been approved and all, we had board of studies wherein we have faculties from from MS University and from Karnataka Central University and all. We had faculties from social work who had developed that syllabus. But once the syllabus is out and once the program is floated, what has happened was that we were forced to have teachers, or we didn't have the opportunity to appoint teachers from social work background. Then we had to write to the UGC, and UGC had to write to the university as such, and then there were issues to it. The point what I'm trying to put it across is, in this case, NAPSI has helped us in writing to our Vice Chancellor as well as taking to the UGC. My point, what I'm trying to bring in here is that if we had a professional monitoring and regulatory body to look into the quality of our this would have been addressed to a great extent. So that is what, in the context I'm saying. This is an example, and which is still in the process. Next is the nature of jobs. As we know that the nature of job is actually shifting as well as changing on a regular basis. As again, I am borrowing from Professor Harari, where he has talked about that the nature of job and its demands are changing on a self-regulatory basis, where he brings the example of self-automated driving vehicles with artificial intelligence, where he talks about replacing doctors with artificial intelligence, etc. Especially when authority shifts from human to algorithms. There are possibilities of large number of what Professor Harari talks about as useless class, as against the exploitation or exploited class. In the earlier days, we talked about exploitation and exploited class, but in the coming centuries, in the coming years, we will be discussing about useless class, wherein he specifically talks about what is useless, where he terms as useless in terms of economic as well as political. In that context, he says about useless class. Thus, in order to prevent these, we need to adopt a system of lifelong learning. Today morning, what Professor Sanjay Bhatt has talked about. Yes, in social work, we need to engage or we need to bring in new areas wherein one of this could be, in order to prevent what Professor Harari is talking about, is to have a system of lifelong learning. For these, there is a need to have a mix of both. I'm very stressfully saying this, have to have a mix of both young as well as well-experienced social work educators and practitioners to engage with planning, implementation, and monitoring of social work, education, and practice for the future of social work. We need to have this, and NAPSI has rightly taken those steps in this, as pointed out by Professor Butt in the earlier discussion, that they have identified around 20 second layer of social work educators, where they're bringing in their ideas and their thoughts into the forefront. Likewise, in our social work education, in our social work, as social work educators, we need to have this mix of both young as well as well-experienced social work educators and practitioners to engage sincerely with the future of social work education. If I may borrow from Professor R.R. Singh, we may need to identify those social work educators and practitioners with a spark to stay relevant and to reinvent ourselves for the future. Now, next, which I would like to bring in, is the role of professional social work association. NAPSI is already doing these with a systemic thinking on these lines. This very national level webinar is one step in that direction. Maybe we all need to seriously reflect on some of these points, take up it as research or as a small projects in building up. How do we stress? In the morning itself, some assignments has been given to some students with the questions which has been raised by to Professor this thing, that to identify the social work social workers in this thing in the state of Gujarat, and to link up and to see that how many of them are associated with professional social work association, any of these professional social work association. In the context of COVID-19 or any other similar crisis, let us deliberate on these and look towards new meaning or new means of engaging in the field, that is setting new norms, that is setting new curricular inputs and setting novel fieldwork practices. And it is very important to have digital units or digital stations. With the help of these, what I said above, of young as well as experienced, well-experienced social work educators in collaborations with the professional associations of social work, this is a possible, provided we strategize in such a way, in such a manner. Thus, it is important to develop greater clarity about the future, because we are all discussing that we need to have this much of specialization, we need to have this, we need to have localization, we need to have contextualization of this, we need to have roles and this thing, but that needs to be systematically have to have a systematic clarity towards it to develop these this context. In doing so, we can better position to prepare graduates for social work for their professional future, and to undertake research, maybe by NAPSI, in collaboration with few social work schools and institutions of social work from across 4 regions of a country, that may be titled, as I have seen a title earlier in US or in other universities abroad, where envisioning the future of social work. In this context, we could look into envisioning the future of social work in India, keeping in mind the present graduating students shall be in the field of social work for around 2050 or 55, or maybe much more to that. So NAPSI could think about having a collaboration with schools or institutions of social work from across 4 regions, and that may be envisioning the future of social. This could be one of the outcome of this future of social work webinar at, here. From here, some of the critical questions, some of these things have already been discussed by my earlier panelist, but to a little bit more detailed or to add it with certain experience of mine into it. First, some of the questions that are coming across in the profession. One is, what level of leadership and influence will social workers have in the profession? That is beyond the profession also. That needs to be looked in. Secondly, what inequalities and caste or class or gender separation continues to grow and begin or to reduce in this profession? Now, these are certain critical questions that we need to address it, or we need to look into, ponder into, we need to collect towards it and address those things in the times to come. Will there be an increased or reduced access to high quality and available healthcare, education, security? Security, when I said in terms of criminal justice social work. Next is, what shall be the driving force for social work? Whether it would be like what you called it as a corporate social responsibility driven by the capitalist, or is there any other ways where we could, other avenues or other forces where you can take forward the social work? What degree will the social work profession harness and leverage technology to its advance? To advance itself in this context, because it's very important now that Corona time has taught us what technology can help us in building. Now we have to live with it, we have to engage with the technology and move forward. So right now, at least in the strategic period of for understanding or contextualizing the future of social work, we need to look into this. From the context of social work education, there are 4 situations with certain pertinent questions that I wish to place it forward in this webinar. First situation, situation 1 is embracing technology to enhance our practice because in terms of fieldwork practice or social work practice. The first point is, how might social work education prepare students to use technology in teaching, learning, and practice? The next one is, how might social work education prepare students for the ethical use of big data? When I say ethical use, that is very important because data can be misused in very many ways. If there are issues or there are concerns of that, we will come to it in the discussion sessions in terms of ethical use of data. Next point is, how might social work education prepare practitioners to apply professional values to the use of technology? This is very important, especially in the context of use of technology. If we don't have that value system, and this is already there, we have a history. In our social work practice, we have ethical use and values and practices in social work. We need to embrace this with the technology to enhance its practice. And what are the implications of this situations or this scenario for faculty development? Not just about not just about students and their use of technology. We also need to look at, this is one of the questions that I would like to put forward, and what are the implications for faculty development? What are the implications of this settings or this situation for needed resources? Means, what are the resources that is required that needs to be incorporated in our syllabi, in our curriculum, and in our settings? What needs to be the supporting things that needs to be there? How can social work education prevent a growing digital divide, especially in school-based on available institutional resources? Within the available, because there was a question in rural areas, how it could be addressed. So within the available institutional resources, how do we address this digital divides? I may not have the answers for all, but these are certain things which has come from my readings and my discussions and my engagement with the field. Next is another situation, that is the situation on building on our success. How might social work education prepare students to step in new roles and environment? I mentioned one is about criminal justice social work. criminal justice social work was one of the first specialization in Tata Institute of Social Science, but Walter Reckless, which has developed in social work, this thing in India. But that is very much limited to very few institutions. How can we have these into mainstreams? Because in every state we have people engaged in correctional institutions, with the police. There are issues with the prisons, with the courts, with the law, with the juvenile justice. How do we have a proper streamlined? This is one example. There are a number of examples like disaster management, like advocacy, counseling, what about health, and so on and so forth. Next question is, how might social work programs better prepare students for practice environment that are increasingly value-based and evidence-based? For example, integration of health system, integration of education system, and integration of security systems, such as. So how do we build on our success and engage in integrating them? How might social work programs better prepare students given the changing demographic of the society? And in these situation itself, what are the implications for the faculty development? What are the implications for the resources, for the needed resources, etc.? And the third situation, so I'm just stating 4 situations here and putting across few leading questions that may be taken forward after this or towards this seminar. The third situation or the third scenario which I am trying to discuss is about social workers as leaders at various spheres. How might social work education integrate professionals and interdisciplinary leadership into the curriculum to better prepare graduates for leadership roles in addressing the critical issues facing our communities and societies? There are a number of issues that the present communities and society that are facing. How could social work as a profession, as social work education can integrate our professional and interdisciplinary leadership and develop in them in different levels on different spheres? How might social work education take a leadership role in increasing understanding of social determinants of health, or social determinants of education, social determinants of securities, etc., among all professionals? How might social work education position the social work degree as the path to leadership across profession and sectors? What are the implications of this particular settings or scenario for faculty developments that needs to be thought for? And what are the implications of this scenario or this situations for needed resources? So my next situation, that is situation 4, is developing new specializations in social work practice with well-defined fieldwork settings that I have already discussed earlier. What are the present specializations at social work educational institutions? Explore the scope of newer areas of practice. Next point is identifying the cutting edge areas of social work practice that have scope for developing into specializations, and why. Maybe the third one is, what are the parameters that needs to be strengthened to develop these specializations in an institutional as well as fieldwork practice point of view? What are the implications both at the faculty as well as what are the implications in terms of needed resources in this particular situation, that is situation number 4. Now, I speak in this with my engagement for the past 10 years at Central University of Gujarat, where we were able to, I was being able to be part of a program called Social Management of a 5-year integrated program, where we were able to bring in leaders, not just from the academia, but also from the bureaucracy, as well as activists, in engaging and bringing in what skill sets that need required, what are the academic inputs that needs to be there. And my students have been placed in various organizations across. Plus, we were able to start, as I said earlier, we were able to initiate in 2017 an MA in social work program, it was a general program where we very specifically focused on the governance, where in most of the cases, including the institution which I studied, social work, where it is very much limited to best practices in certain islands. We need to expand those islands and take it to the larger level. There are some practices which has been taken, like Professor Butt has talked about Childline and all, which was just a field action project in TIS, and then later it has become to the national level program. Likewise, we want to do it in Gujarat, and I'm sure that the network between social work institutions in Gujarat could put forward certain visions, certain points together, certain areas of common interest where we could engage with the community better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was a privilege to hear from you. We hope to listen to you more often in near future. So now we are open for question answers. So if somebody has a question, please raise your hand, or you can type the question in the chat box. Okay, so now I would like to invite Mr. Zoef Seth, who is the senior social work student at Navrasna University, to introduce Dr. Meena Galiara.
Thank you, Pranav. Good afternoon to one and all present here in the webinar. Myself, Zoef Seth, from Department of Social Work, Navrasna University. I feel privileged and I consider it as a great honor to introduce our guest, Dr. Meena Galiara, ma'am. She is currently appointed as a director at Jasani Center for Social Entrepreneurship and Sustainability Management, NMIMS. She is an alumnus of Tata Institute of Social Science, TIS. She was engaged as a faculty member with TIS from 1986 to 1997, and she joined the School of Business Management, NMIMS, in 2003, post her doctoral studies in corporate social responsibility. As an educator, her work aims at creating of business leaders and social entrepreneurs who are knowledgeable about and are committed to create a sustainable society. Besides her work at NMIMS, Dr. Galiara is on the board of IRFT, Excel Industries, and Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So now I would like to invite Dr. Meena Galiara, ma'am, to address us. And now I'll hand over to Dr. Meena.
Yes, thank you so much. Will you be sharing the screen, or will you put the PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am, we can do that.
Okay.
And do you want to share the PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. Can you give me the right to share the PowerPoint?
Just a minute.
Okay, first and foremost, let me thank your university for organizing this e-conference, which is a very novel idea, and that too in the future of social work. When I read this topic, it sent butterflies to my stomach, because we do not know when the pandemic is going to end, and whether we are going to see the future or not. Okay, it took me quite some time to think about it as to what it can be. It was a privilege to listen to Mr. Bhatt today morning, and also my co-panelist, Dr. Soni and Dr. Pandey, who spoke so passionately about how the future should be and what should schools of social work do. And I'm in complete alignment with their thought processes. And maybe there can be some sort of a repetition or reinstatement of whatever my co-panelist has said. My thanks are also due to all the students and the, Dr. Archana, Priya, and, Nilay, my friend, with whom I worked almost for 15 years at NMIMS. So I have a little different way of looking at things. And I would start with in terms of we need to understand how the global changes have been happening and what can be the implication of the same for social work. So I'm looking little beyond pandemic and looking at pandemic as one of the things, but not the only thing which is going to trigger changes. There are, if you look at the pestle analysis, we look at geopolitical dimensions which are influencing the international and the national policies. So obviously things like climate change has, 1 minute. Okay, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay, fine. So I was talking about climate change, issues like climate change. It has mandated instruments of change, pollution levels, forest covers, biodiversity, and as a consequential impact of it, of the climate change issue, if we look at social work, there have been changes in the migration, the migratory patterns. How are people migrating from one place to another, and why certain places are becoming a favorite place for migration, and how because of these migration what types of issues are coming in. Because of migration happening, why are certain places having pollution levels, or what are the health hazards, or what is the housing, and those types of issues that are coming up. And so you may find new geographies now because of this type of migration that is taking place. And when reverse migration is taking place post pandemic, those towns and those villages and those blocks will have to be prepared to accept this. So there's an implication for social work personnel over there to design new intervention areas. You look at the whole issue about water, or even the whole issue about biodiversity and the impact that it is having on the type of practices that we have. So more and more NGOs which are in the areas of environmental change or agriculture, and looking at agro processing, even these, you find social work agencies even going into these directions. So they're no longer only into counseling or child welfare or women's empowerment. They are cascading much behind it, and this is happening because of the global changes that we see in the last 5 years that have been happening. Conventions on women and child rights, okay, the latest one being fight against genital mutation and workplace safety for women, has triggered a lot of changes even in the in social work agencies, or even in corporates, about how women required to be looked into and what type of practices we should be having. There's a lot of implication for legal aid which has come in, say an organization like Majlis, which is managed only by women and which works only for women, has come up in a big way in order to address the issues. So I think there is a lot of scope for students of social work to understand that there is always going to be enough food for thought and enough food for interventions, and making a career opportunity in this, in this space. There have been changes in the international trade policies, outsourcing patterns, patenting, concerns related to waste management, and concerns related to intellectual property rights. So there is a lot of scope in terms of developing social work agencies to address these issues, because the type of outsourcing that is happening, which is creating the whole lot of wage related implications, or implications for human rights that are coming up, or say patenting related things. So if you look at the latest injection for COVID, which is being the talk of the town, that is remdesivir, is the cost of the production is just 90 cents, but it is sold at $390 because of the patenting issues, and the same medicine is costing around 8,000 rupees over here per injection. So you see the type of inequities that are coming up, and that has an implication on social work careers, in terms of there will be challenges, but there will be opportunities also. So at the local areas, one would require to deal with it. Say, for instance, my own center, we, as soon as the pandemic broke out, we have taken up two action researches. One is the societal expectation from business during COVID, and the second is impact of COVID-19 on NGOs functioning. Now, this is an action research because with the NGOs with which whom we work, or the Chamber of Commerce where I'm representing my institute, we are looking at guiding how the CSR funds have to be now channelized, or what type of priority areas are coming up. So there is a big scope in terms of getting into action research where students and faculty together can do it. And we have been studying impacts on businesses, and we have been studying impacts on governments and impacts on beneficiaries. But impacts on NGOs have been huge. One is because of the legal changes that have been proposed just before the pandemic broke out in India. And second reason is about the type of exemptions now the donors will get because of these changes. So many NGOs are going to struggle when ATG and other type of exemptions are going to be cancelled. So how do we get into policy advocacy till we do not understand how these types of public health issues are impacting the NGOs, because most of the NGOs had to shift their project attention to relief measures, and they have used their own reserves in order to address the problems which we were facing over here. My next aspect that I'm looking into is the economic aspect of globalization, where my co-presenters have also spoken about artificial intelligence and automation, because of which loss of jobs and livelihood have been happening, and hence there is a lot of liability which has been coming into the organization. Say, for example, most of businesses and even academic institutions these days have put up kiosks for tea, coffee. Earlier, we used to have a chai wala who would come and then serve tea to us. But because of these kiosks coming into place, the chai wala has lost his job, and probably he employed 5 more people, even they have lost the job. So on one hand, when we are very proud about artificial intelligence, it is creating liabilities, and hence the implication for social work has to be seen in terms of what type of vocational training has to be given to people. Most of the time, we consider vocational training after children have dropped out of the school, but that's a very wrong way of thinking. Can vocational training be given when children are at school? So with Salam Bombay Foundation, NMIMS has started Dream Lab, a concept called Dream Lab, and which means that children who are in the age group of 13 to 14 to 16, that is 13 to 16 to be precise, will get trained on various vocations which have a market demand, and they will get into 90 days internship. Those children who have completed 16 years of age, they get into a 90 days internship with Big Bazaar or with JW Marriott Hotel if they are looking at bakery or looking at couple of other things, or with mobile repairing shops, because under the definition of children, the age to work has been reduced to 16. So a lot of education had to be done to the corporates in order to understand that this is not a child labor. This is something like better than an apprenticeship program, where you have a contractual arrangement where you pay a stipend to the child. The hours of work are restricted, and nobody below the age of 16 is going to be working in your organization. We have now more than 100 corporates signed up for this particular activity. So these children are continuing their school, and they are continuing vocational training, and they're also understanding how the real market is actually working. Also, from market perspective, there is a lean period and there is a peak period. Say Diwali period is a peak period, or Christmas is a peak period where people require more laborers to work in their organization. And in the lean period, they do not require. So this is a fit between a full-time apprentice program and a short-time internship program that we see. And the Dream Lab has given us the confidence that yes, we can definitely continue children's education, give them that internship experience to understand how it is working, protect the child's health, and we can take this, it's an integration of education as well as vocational training. Also, growth of service industry has given new avenues in terms of new types of skills that we require. Work from home, okay, which was considered to be one of a very fashionable term, is now considered to be the new normal. So earlier, what used to be accepted only in IT industries or banks or only in certain sectors, today is almost applicable everywhere. So most of us who are working from home, we have devised and we have adapted to this particular skill faster. Now, in this particular aspect, the implication for social work is going to be what type of HR policies required to be designed. How do you protect jobs of the people? What type of exploitative practices can occur in this place? What type of job security can be given? How do you measure work? Okay, so the traditional methods for monitoring are likely to change. Even social work agencies have been operating from home, those who could operate from home, the different departments, say taking up to e-counseling. Of course, there is going to be a difference between face-to-face counseling and e-counseling, or even getting into impact assessment or those types of measures using technology was demanding, but definitely even social work agencies have adapted to this. There is a growth of startups in the entire world, not just in India. People are trying to find market-oriented solutions to various problems, things like low-cost dialysis center. During the pandemic, we had this huge problem of finding a good dialysis center where people could go to. We are currently incubating a project at NMIMS where we are having this low-cost dialysis center, and which was in full demand. In fact, prior to pandemic, we would be struggling to get people to utilize the low-cost dialysis center. But during the pandemic and post-lockdown, we find there is an extremely good response, and this is a for-profit social enterprise. So we have a lot of avenues, okay, to get into understanding the bottom of the pyramid issues which are there, whether they are education, health, waste management, housing. A lot of low-cost things can come up, and I think students of social work can work with other professionals or students of other domain and try to develop these startups and try to work in tandem with them. There's a lot of mental and emotional interventions are required, because as much as we get excited with the word startups, it is very difficult for people who have to sustain these startups. And so a lot of angel support and a lot of knowledge support is required. So if that value chain could be created by universities, I think it will be of great help. When the Prime Minister speaks about Atmanirbhar, a lot of farmers and a lot of people staying in rural areas brought out certain innovations, whether they were in the agriculture sector, whether they were into the service sector. Those require to be showcased to the students, not just in schools of social work, but I think across higher education, to inspire people as to the capacity of people to solve their own problems. And I think then there will be a true sentiment which will come in terms of like future of social work is going to be helping these people as to how they are going to take care of the problems. The whole issue about technology, it's in a big place, and we find there is a need to be techno-social, which is required. And I think all social workers or people who are engaged in social work occupations or plan to be into this particular career have to develop their technological competencies. If we do not have technological competencies even within the beneficiary community, it's going to create a lot of inequity between people who know how to operate technology and people who do not know how to operate technology. So the whole issue about internet banking and e-commerce and other type of things. So when we find during the pandemic that we had farm to doorstep, okay, people would cater to you. They had used technology. So somebody in their family knew how to use a smartphone. Somebody in their house knew how to send an email. So this is the power of technology which can help people to become really Atmanirbhar in the true sense. So the first step is to get into Atma Parikshan to see that how much techno savvy are we and can we make our beneficiaries techno savvy. It's extremely important. There's a whole lot of global anxiety, global trauma. That's a flip side of the technology also, because you start getting a lot of news which disturbs you, and that then puts you again into the problems. A lot of e-counseling through apps, okay, not in person delivery, has another dimension of how you treat grief during the trauma, or what type of e-counseling measures can help or they cannot help, that also requires to be seen. And only the future can tell us when we use these to a greater extent to tell us whether they are working or they are not working. A lot of online resources, okay, social work agencies that I find, especially in Mumbai, are using a lot of technology to track their data, to keep in touch with their clients, to do online research. I think online research has come in a big way. Practically every second day, there is some seminar or webinar that is getting organized, and we were actually tired of these multiple webinars which started coming in the month of April and May, because we are all flooded with those types of requests. So that can be continued to a greater extent in order to keep your beneficiary, your donor, your volunteers, your partners to be engaged. This is a new way of engagement that we have learned, and it is thanks to pandemic, because we have learned things to be accepted even in the technological form. One of our alumni is using geointelligence for mapping the land of the tribals, because he works with the tribal. His NGO is Vatavaran, and he found that suddenly air pollution has stopped and he became jobless. Okay, his startup had no work because the air quality improved. So he then shifted his attention to the tribal areas and looked at the land rights, and they did not have their 7/12 abstract. So with the district collector, he has got into using satellite imaginary and getting into the geointelligence and trying to restore the lands back to them. So this is one way in which you may suddenly find to be jobless, but then you have to be very fast to have that turnaround time, and that is what Vatavaran has done. E-networks are working well. Social media, people have started using, including beneficiaries. They use social media to converge their ideas, because I think that's a big place. When you have a problem, you just put it on Facebook or on LinkedIn, and hundreds of people will come with solutions. And that is one way of utilizing the technology to your advantage. You don't get stressed out to solve this problem. So the future of social work is not just sitting in small groups and trying to solve the problem. The future of social work is going to be, how do we use technology, especially social media, to find a solution to your problem. So that is one of the things which I find it quite interesting. At the agency level, okay, the NGOs, the first and foremost thing, whether big or small, they should try and use technology to design systems to track client information, plan your services, project planning, because all these softwares are available. So you can do it quite well over there, because when the agency is technologically competent, I think many things in future can be solved. The integration of technology social work will address issues related to social disintegration, because these days you have nano families. You don't in terms of the child is staying somewhere, the mother is staying somewhere, the father is staying somewhere, the whole lot of social disintegration has come in. And so when this social disintegration is coming in, the future of social work is going to be more challenged in terms of how do we address issues of families. So family social work is going to play a huge and a very important role in future. Issues of urban slums will continue if we do not create jobs for people in rural areas. So this problem is going to stay over there, and if this is going to stay, the whole concept of whatever people have learned now about social distancing or about maintaining community hygiene or personal hygiene should stay. And so whether that status quo is going to remain or not, that requires to be seen. Housing, land rights, communicable diseases, suicides, drugs, alcoholism, these are not going to be wiped out in the near future. They are very much going to stay over there. The extent is likely to increase, if not decrease. And hence, how do we address these issues, both with and without technology? Because in India, we stay in the 4th century and 21st century at the same time. So we require to see that, are we skilled to use both types of techniques with the technology interface and without the technology interface. So the whole war for talent is going to be there, not just in India, but at the global level. So if we say that we are going to be the human resource providers across the world, we'll have to see that are our beneficiaries trained into skilled, soft skill, life skills do they know about it, and can we create those capacities? Can we customize the workforce to meet ever increasing business requirement? Because what we learned yesterday, you may have to redo everything again. So things which we learned 2 months back may be absolutely obsolete. So let's take, for example, if I learned SPSS or I learned Excel, now that is not in use. It is R Studio which is in use. I have to understand there are new things which are happening and I have to adapt with that. So as a competent professional, if I require to adapt with the changing world, I also require to see that my beneficiary, my community or my clientele, also gets adapted over here. We need to acclimatize workforce with cross-cultural environment, which is extremely important in terms of survival. So your knowledge, foreign language knowledges or knowledges about technology, which I've already discussed a few minutes back, we require to see that we are able to bring that in place. Social workers will have to compete more toughly with MBA students, okay, or people who have corporate experience. Now we are already competing with them, and hence you have to upgrade yourself. So we require those toolkits in place. Most important, again, I put on the top of the pyramid is the technology part of it, the technology competence, knowledge of softwares, knowledge of how blockchains work, because even your subsidies these days are getting distributed through blockchains. So you require to have good knowledge of that. Training in both soft skills, life skills becomes essential for social work students as well as faculty members, because we have to continuously upgrade ourselves. Applied research, a lot of things into need assessment, evaluation, using analytics, because that is the thing now, because people are asking you for analytics. So if we have business analytics, we also have social work analytics. We need to use that. Social entrepreneurship is in the forefront, because we have to integrate the business models in the NGOs to create revenues, okay, to create that type of thing, because CSR funding is becoming extremely limited because of the taxation related issues which have come up. Strategic management, because you are going to compete not just for funds, you are going to compete for having good partners also, you are going to compete for having good employees. So obviously strategic management is extremely important, which I think has to be integrated in the curriculum. Project management, again, at a higher level. The way in which we look at project management is at a very basic level. So if we are going to get into livelihood support or going to get into employment generation and other type of things, those project management techniques are a little different. So getting into social returns on investment, SROI, that is must, because donors want to know about how their money is getting invested and what type of benefits people are having. Eco-social work is going to play a huge role. Your environmental impact studies, if you're getting into activism or getting into policy changes or getting into influencing the corporate sector, then these impact studies in disaster management, in environment, in psychosocial interventions is extremely important. Also, the whole tool about carbon footprinting or corporate sustainability, other than CSR, I think corporate sustainability is also one major area where what is the business case for being socially and environmentally responsible. Social stock exchange has come up. So how do these stock exchange work? And if you want to trade on the social stock exchange, if companies want to trade, what type of NGOs are they looking into? Social impact bonds, the new type of funding which is coming in. So you have to understand the funding mix, the type of equities that are coming in. If that knowledge is not there, then I think how much ever good you may be at technology, or how much ever passionate you will be, or how much ever legally updated you will be, it can be a big challenge. My co-panelists have already touched this point about code of ethics for social work. In the light of so many changes that are happening in the society, I think the code of ethics of social work requires to be revisited, requires to be aligned with whatever future that we are anticipating and we are trying to see. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. It was nice to hear from you.
Yeah.
Now we are open for question answers. So if somebody has a question, please raise the hand, or you can type the question in the chat box.
Ma'am, can you please make Priyanka Shah host?
Yeah, sure.
Now please raise hand whosoever is having questions.
Rather than a question, I have a observation to make.
Yeah. Yeah, Priyanka, I've made your host. Yeah.
Placed so many concerns regarding the future of social work, which are so nice. I wanted to know more about the legal aid and the Majlis thing that we're talking about.
Okay. Majlis is an NGO which has been started by Flavia Agnes. And Flavia herself was battered in her domestic life. And she's come a long way. So her organization engages only women, and her services are provided only for women. And she specializes in, training district judges, young lawyers in this particular area about gender sensitivity, because most of the times our legal courses do not emphasize much on gender sensitivity, and that is why her staff travels to district places and in villages to create those legal aid support systems for the local women over there. Because of this act which came in, POSH Act, which came in, the Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace, they are into a huge business in terms of training corporate organizations in POSH. So they have realized that because of the policy change, that what they wanted to do in gender sensitivity, the law has given them an opportunity. Opportunity in terms of sitting as an NGO member on various boards of the company, of the committees of the company, conducting trainings for them, developing e-courses on gender sensitivity for corporates. So I can connect you with them, and it's a very good organization. And I think we require more of such interventions in different places.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You talked about that, like due to this pandemic, rural people have migrated to their native places.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they are issued, coming back and joining.
Right.
Layoff happening.
Right.
So what kind of help we can do to them as a social worker, because we cannot provide them jobs in pandemic.
Correct. Agreed.
We have to provide employment or vocational training, or
right.
what kind of options do we have?
Right. So currently, right now, we are working with 2 NGOs, and one is Shrujana, which has been started by our own alumni. Shrujana is now 6 years old. So we have started, getting into this because we find this opportunity when people are coming back and other things. The type of work that we can allot them is that they are making these tiffin services women have started to be giving, because the small hotels are not working as of now, and construction work has already started here in Mumbai, but they do not have these tiffin, they have not brought their wives, or they don't have this adequate place to stay. So Shrujana has started this tiffin services for them, which is costing 20 rupees per tiffin at a low cost. And whatever the deficit is there, we have done the crowdfunding part of it. So women who are engaged in such type of activities have got a livelihood support which is there. Second is there has been training given by our School of Pharmacy to SHGs on preparing this low cost sanitizers, because you require a pharmacist to tell them. You cannot just make a sanitizer on your own, because it has to be effective also. So we have already applied for patenting, but we have parallelly started this particular work. So that is engaging around, say, 45 women so far in Malad. In that way, that income is being provided. Now we are looking at that as businesses start in the supply chain, if retraining can be done for these people. So we are in touch with medium scale industry because they are the ones who would require these workers which are there, and because their workers have gone out, and this new set of workers have come in. So in the areas of packaging, in the areas of distribution, okay, moving from one place to another for Swiggy or Danzo, okay, those type of things which are there, we are looking at. So far we have been able to engage around, say, around 200 people, not more. We are also struggling to find out, what are the ways and means that we can do. But we have been fortunate enough to get some sort of a support from the builder community to house them in dormitories, which has safe distancing. Now that is because of the network support in Mumbai. Because the network support is good and there are resources which are available, which other cities may not have. We are at an advantage of that particular thing. So I will not say that we are hugely successful, but we are trying our level best as to how do we create this type of stories in order to change small little corners. But we would also like to scale up in this area.
There is a student named Vinya Matthew. She is having a question.
Yeah.
Social work should prepare for proper utilization of all in ways that fully conforms to our values and ethics.
Can you repeat the question again?
Sorry, ma'am, I'll just repeat. There is one. How shall social work should prepare for proper utilization of artificial intelligence in ways that fully conforms to our values and ethics?
So in other words, is she asking that should social workers get into profit making entities using artificial intelligence? Is that her question?
Yes.
Okay. There is nothing, you see, the word profit is nothing but it is a byproduct of your effort. And if you're registering, okay, as a profit making entity, we normally encourage our MBA students who are into social entrepreneurship, because we have an MBA program in social entrepreneurship. We encourage them to get into profit making entities, but addressing the problems of the people at the bottom of the pyramid. So we have around 12 such profit making entities. They are not as of now using artificial intelligence. They are into different domains. And so there's nothing wrong in encouraging that, because by getting into profit making, you are not committing a sin. Rather, how you have made those profits is important. Have you violated somebody's rights? Have you created problems for other people? Have you exploited the environment? Is that the thing? How your profits are getting made, and then after you make the profit, how are you utilizing them? If you wish to start something using artificial intelligence, I believe that you may not have a big manpower force or something, but you may ease out life of many people. And so the profit that you generate from that may be utilized in vocationally training other people. So you may consider it as that part of it. So there's not, like right now we are incubating a project where the students have completely digitalized yoga. So it's a digital yoga. So there is no human being who is doing the yoga on the screen. You keep doing the yoga, the computer will detect that whether you're bending right or whether you're not bending correctly, and will give you the instructions whether you have a 90-degree level or you have a 60-degree level, and what should be the ideal level. Now his objective is to improve fitness. His objective is not to create jobs or anything, because he believes that if fitness is there, obviously people will become productive. So it depends upon what is your objective, which problem are you trying to address, and if you're clear in what you're doing, addressing the problems of the larger society, I think that is good enough. So there's nothing wrong in making profits. People would not make profit as a prerequisite, okay, for getting into social work, because who would give you the surplus otherwise? But how the profit is made is equally important, not by squeezing people and exploiting others, not in that manner.
Ma'am, Shivani Agrawal has a question. How can we promote mental and social intervention during this pandemic?
During this time, promote venture and social intervention.
Yeah, mental and social.
mental and social intervention. Now, most of our people who are into this mental and social interventions are getting into, they have a problem because we just completed a study on impact of COVID on NGOs functioning. So we find that the beneficiaries are not happy. Okay, we have, I'll especially tell you, is Childline and also Child Aid Foundation, and also one more organization who have reported that which is into domestic violence, that organization deals with women in domestic violence. They have reported that beneficiaries are not at all happy. This e-counseling doesn't help so much, because if it is domestic violence or if a child right is getting violated, you require to be there at that particular time, by telling that person you have to be strong and you need require to deal, and you go to the police and all, it's actually not helping. So I have no answer for you at this particular moment. But mental health, our counselors at the university level, we had students who were staying in their own flats, and people had left and they had these mental health issues, anxiety and other type of things. So he had a lot of load. So his job was to see that can we bring all the students together to stay in one particular flat, so they become emotionally, involved into it. Again, I think it depends upon who is the counselor also. It depends to those skill sets. Different age groups may have different ways of, different types of counseling required. A senior citizen staying alone, okay, may require a different type of counseling because he's worried, okay, what will happen suddenly if I get COVID? Am I going to die? So they may require different types of services. But our counselor was dealing only with young people who are below 25 years of age. So I really do not have the answer for you. Sorry.
Related to this mental intervention, I want to ask in general question. Like there were many students of mine and many friends of mine, like during lockdown, we were chatting, like we were feeling so aloof, we are having mental breakdown, sometimes we are, having suicidal thoughts, which is even thought of, okay, that, that my friend is telling me that I'm having suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
So, because we are knowing each other, we can heal each other, or we can.
Correct.
But
Correct.
during this pandemic, how can we reach to people, who are totally strangers to us, and how can we do social work in that area? Can you please throw light?
Like we ourselves are struggling with this issue. We ourselves are struggling with this issue because we have students all over the country which come from. There are anxieties related to summer placements. I'll give you our own example because summer placements got deferred. So students were worried about their career, how it is to be done. So we had to, as faculty members, talk to some, because each one of us were allotted some 15-20 students to talk to and have a rapport with them and deal with. So their challenges were completely different. And I realized I'm a very poor counselor. I cannot counsel people, because the challenges which they have, other than saying, don't worry, these things will also go. These things happen. This is not the pandemic first time it has happened to the world. Telling them how many times pandemic has happened, and there will be highs and lows. This will go surely. When it will go, we can anticipate, okay, 2021, surely it will go. And we have a long life. Okay, nobody's going to die so soon. We have to wait for it. Apart from that, I realized I'm a very poor counselor. So I couldn't counsel. So I'm not able to answer this particular question. Maybe you can tell me what could be done so we can utilize it.
Rizwan Ali has one question. What will be the new areas of social work practitioners toward globalization policy in pandemic time?
Yeah, new areas of research at the global thing can be in the most happening thing can be in CSR and pandemic. How companies' policies towards human resources, towards work culture, towards HR, towards supply chain, how they are going to change. So how is social responsibility towards various stakeholders because of pandemic going to change across the globe? Who is going to trade with whom, and to what extent? What type of monopolies are going to have? So that is one area, I think, which will come very strong. Second is how will trade, okay, function in terms, post pandemic? What type of businesses are likely to pick up after this particular thing, and which countries will move ahead first? It purely from social work setup, if you say, as how have people dealt, like your question on mental health, because I think each one of us suffered mental health issues, to be very honest. It's not that only some people suffered and others were enjoying. Each one of us had our own set of anxieties, and we still continue to have those set of anxieties till we don't get the vaccine. Okay, so that is going to be there. It's going to be on online education, okay, research on online education, to what effect it is working, what were the expectations of the students, what were the expectations of people who are going to employ. I think these areas are good enough for doing, because a lot of research is done on prediction and predictability and mathematical models about whether COVID will happen, how it is going to increase, decrease. But a lot of things on related to whatever good things we have done during this COVID-19 about social distancing, personal hygiene, hand washing, to what extent it is going to retain, whether public health is going to get a big boost because of pandemic. Okay, that is another wonderful area of research, because the whole fragile infrastructure of health, has it changed because of COVID-19? Have governments upgraded it, and to what extent that upgradation has happened? What is the type of things? Or even a good area of research could be non-COVID patients. What happened to non-COVID? Because the whole attention was on COVID. So how were non-COVID patients treated, and what challenges did they face? Because we are bothered about COVID-19 patients, but nobody is considering there were a whole lot of non-COVID patients who underwent a lot of challenge, a whole lot of disabled people. Okay, disability, because for disability it came much later. And even for India to understand COVID as a disaster, it took them end of March. Okay, where we had the first cases, 3 cases in February itself we had detected. So we declared only, and NGOs were the first ones to get into relief work, even before the government declared it as a disaster management. So one could look at these areas, or how corporates have responded to this, or PM Care Fund, because I am myself planning to do a study on PM Care Fund, that how is PM Care Fund getting utilized and where the money has gone and how it is going to help. So I think it's quite a rich area where a lot of new research can be done.
Amar, one question for Soni Kunjappan sir.
Yeah.
Rather, I would say all the 3 panelists, if they can come online. We have some questions for all 3 of you together. Soni sir, Balsidhar sir.
Hi Soni, you're from, so you're what, senior or junior to me? I'm 84 passed out. I think he requires to unmute.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So yes. What, you're senior or junior to me?
Junior to you, junior to you.
Oh, good. So then I can, so then I can boss over you.
Yeah. I was trying to mail you, madam. I was trying to mail you, but it bounced back.
Okay.
The official email. So I have requested Archana ma'am to share your details.
Okay. Fine.
Balsidhar sir.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so as a student of social work, which skills will be important in the coming times?
This question is for Dr. Soni or for me?
No, it's for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Which skills? I think all the skills. In fact, I realized that we should go into business because we have all the skills required to make business successful. We know how to negotiate, we have patience, we can, we have the soft skills, we can wait for results, we are not pushing people, we can work wonderfully with different stakeholders. So it's all people skills which are extremely important. Along with people skills of technology becomes very important, because you require that. You require to be completely, knowledgeable. That is important. Something that we call as cash, which is knowledge. Okay. the attitude that you require, the skills that you require, and H is the habit. So your knowledge, if you want to make cash, then you require to have that cash. Then this cash is KASH. Your knowledge, your ability, that is your attitude and your skills. And this continuously has to be upgraded. It cannot be by the time you do your MSW or BSW, in 3 months time, your knowledge is obsolete. Is obsolete. You have to continuously upgrade it till the time you survive on this planet. Okay, whether you are in profession or you're not in profession, to survive, you will require to upgrade. So that's what I would say.
Ma'am, there is one more question from Zoe. Say,
yeah.
What are the scopes of social entrepreneurship in abroad?
A lot of social entrepreneurship is the thing which is going to rule. Okay, with the bottom of the pyramid, you look at 418 million people. That's a huge market. And what does this market require? Good schools, good health, okay, good livelihoods, housing, everywhere. So you look at emerging economies, everybody is struggling over there. And so that is the way. And social entrepreneurship is how do you create an enterprise which will create a social impact and financial sustainability. That is how it differs from a commercial enterprise. A commercial enterprise talks about financial impact first, and then social, But we talk social, that you start an enterprise with this objective that I want to create a market-oriented solution. So you look at Sulab Sauchalay, okay, which was probably the first one of the pioneers into it. But you have an organization, a company called as 3S by Rajiv Kher in Pune, which is around 600 crores, which is into portable toilets. And that fellow has got a huge business because of the Swachh Bharat and because of the policy changes. So we require to look at market opportunities and both NGO. So each NGO will have a social enterprise, according to me, for-profit enterprise. And each for-profit enterprise will have a foundation. That's the way ahead that I see. So you have organization called Sahaj, okay, Gujarat ka organization hai Sahaj. Sahaj has started a for-profit enterprise. Shrujan has started Shrujan for-profit. Because in the for-profit, you can do a lot of things in terms of marketing, brand building, and your capacity building, okay, developing capacity, vocational training, all happens in the NGO. So you look at even this whole thing about honey business, which has been, Vijaya Pastala has started under the mango tree. She's working with a lot of farmers, encouraging apiary honey. And she has under the mango tree as an NGO, which is a foundation, and under the mango tree, which is a for-profit enterprise. So there is nothing wrong. I think we have to change our lens, as my co-panelist said. We have to adapt continuously. Roti to kamani hai na, logon ko kaam dena hai. सब लोग तो हमारे जैसे प्रोफेसर्स बनेंगे नहीं, correct? So we have to look at what are the other ways. So if you have to lead people, a whole lot of things into, like one of my students, she is now in Uttarakhand, she has started Pahadi organic business, okay, into vegetables, fruits and other things. And we are helping her to get market here in Mumbai. Because in Mumbai, the need is that they require this. So you have to understand the market well. Most of the time, hum log social work mein, sorry to say, and I have knowledgeable people as my co-panelists, but they will agree with me in terms of we don't consider, we think social work is only for the poor. No, I think social work is for everyone. With all the stakeholders, you have to influence people. That is most important, whether they are investors, donors, partners, everyone. You have to influence them till you don't create a value chain. This word value chain is extremely important. So if you're looking at Porter's model of value chain, which talks about inbound logistics, which talks about processes, which talks about outbound logistics and sales, look at Big Bazaar or look at Big Basket, how they have created that. Kya hai? They are working with farmers only, no? They are working with vegetable vendors. They are working with those types of people. They're going directly to the source. Look at ITC's e-Chopal. I think these cases require to be discussed even in social work universities. They're very important to look at it, because if you want to promote social entrepreneurship and look at it that, okay, you can create jobs, you can create social impact, you can earn your livelihood. Otherwise, what is going to happen is NGO kholne ke baad mein people will say, now how will I earn money? Okay, then I will make my wife the CEO. I will become the chairman, or I will become the CEO and my wife will become the chairman. And then we get into family boards, and then we get into, you know, whole lot of things which we should not be doing. So if the world is moving towards transparency, accountability, and I think we require to embrace that with full things.
Ma'am, I have a question to Dr. Soni Kunjapan from Napoleon Arkudraj. And it is like, sir, you talked about various associations of social work. And he wants to know that if social work associations are not there, and if we want to try something at our level, what would be the way outs to that?
Yeah, what I was trying to say is about the role of a social work association. Suppose if we assume a situation that the social work associations are not there, but as student social work, you can do a lot of things. I'll just give you an example of one of my contemporary student, or one of my contemporary student who was been with me at Tata Institute of Social Science. His name is Mohammad Tariq. He has, during our fieldwork engagement, he has actually started engaging his fieldwork with homelessness, with beggary issues and all. And right now, he was able to influence and change certain beggary acts at Maharashtra and Delhi and other places. And he has built a huge community of around 70,000 people across. So my point is that as individual social workers, you can, as student social workers, you can build and work and engage with people across. But having an association would help us in connecting all this team. This is what our co-panelist has already stated, that one of the skill is to have network and network of association across. And that is very much important. And that will help us to streamline, to strategize, to prioritize certain things so that we could take it forward in that direction. So it will always help. Otherwise, as student social workers, you can build in, you can change at your own spaces. But what now, when we are talking about future of social work, we are trying to think about in a larger scale where we could engage in a more better way.
This question is to all the three panelists. Since we're talking about future of social work, 5 areas that each one of you feels is very important in the near future that I need to train my students into.
5 areas of specialization.
5 areas, yeah, that not specialization, as future of social work. What do you see as future of social work where I need to train my students into? This question is for all 3 of you, and I want you to answer it individually.
Hello, ma'am. Can you please repeat a question once again?
कैसे कौन से 5 एरियाज हैं जिनमें मुझे अपने स्टूडेंट्स को, अपने बच्चों को ट्रेन करना चाहिए, फ्यूचर ऑफ सोशल वर्क जो आज हम सुबह से डिस्कस कर रहे हैं उसको देखते हुए.
So Archana, this actually sounds like a Viva question, you know.
Sorry for that. I think that will help all of us to align in some way to train our students, I guess.
Future is always uncertain, and you are asking us to be certain in that. So that's quite a dilemma. इसके लिए हमारे तरफ से चुप्पी थी.
Okay. And we are also finding a way out.
Yeah.
No. So if I may go first, okay, and give you bullet points. First is techno-social is extremely important. Okay, that you should have a subject on, you know, technology for social work. If you can have technology for lawyers and technology for doctors, then why not for social work? Technology is the thing that you require to have in the course, whether you call it as management information systems or you call it any other name that you want to give, but please have that, or call it as knowledge management, because a lot of tacit knowledge is getting developed, okay, in NGOs, and we don't capture this particular knowledge as to how it was handled. Let's take in 2009 we had SARS, and a lot of NGOs in Pune were engaged in handling this, but we don't have knowledge management systems. So can we create that type of thing, that you get into the which type of technology, or say, creation of dashboards, simple dashboards using simple tools which are available. So that should be there, and use of technology even to talk to clients and all should continue. It should not stop after the pandemic, because we should be able to use both face to face and technology also. And so that should be there. So that's my one big thing. Second is, social entrepreneurship, having, projects incubated, some incubation center, if that could be developed. And I think Niti Aayog gives the funding, because we have taken that funding over here at NMIMS to develop our incubation center. So practical social entrepreneurship, or getting into, or even Gujarat has a couple of incubation centers. If you can send your students, put their ideas, pitch in their ideas, having something called as Chancellor's Challenge, Vice Chancellor's Challenge. These competitions are important, that there are these issues which are there about waste management, about water, about recycling. So create that, because these are the problems which are there. You require all types of, you require activists also fighting for it, and you require entrepreneurs also to address it. You cannot have only entrepreneurs addressing and activists not doing those things. You will require those types of alternative methodologies to get in. So social entrepreneurship is second. Third is this whole issue about mental health, which we are also not able to find out, and which is a very neglected area. We keep talking about it, but we do not. A simple thing like, okay, one of my student is doing this research, that why do farmers in Maharashtra are more prone to suicide, and why do farmers in Kutch are not prone to suicide? What is the difference? That's a huge thing. When he talked to me, I was like, really very appreciative, because I never thought about it. Okay, why is one section of the country pro-suicidal, and the other section, which is equally facing the same amount of problems, not being suicidal? So he's planning to do research on that, to find out how do farmers over there, and he has done some pilot, and we are just discussing that now after this meeting which is there. So I think you require to have that. Then having a course in analytics, it's important. So like if you say CSR ke liye, abhi Goodera is doing taken a lot of business from companies to do the CSR analytics. Jo kaam matlab mehnat majuri NGOs karenge, gada majuri, and then cake will be taken by these technocrats. So you have, so we are right now having a startup called as, Synergy. Synergy is a startup which is doing CSR analytics. So which is started by one IT person and one social work person. ये दोनों ने मिलके ये startup शुरू किया है. So we do the CSR analytics. So that इसमें काफी है, because companies will require these analytics in the years to come, with the changes that in the companies law which they are proposing right now for section 135. The revised rules will come anytime. We have given our comments and all, लेकिन analytics तो आने ही वाला है. So if you can have a workshop या course or whatever you say into analytics, expose them to these are the things which are required. So that's my third area. Fourth is on the whole issue about governance, and governance should be taught first is the legal compliance. Which is important, because there are so many things which the trustees don't know, and they require to know the whole concept of board education, which is so important. Corporates may you employ consultants to educate board members. NGOs में we think the trustee होने के बाद उसको पूरा केवल ज्ञान मिल गया है, उसको पूरा सब आएगा. नहीं होता है ऐसे. That board education, that governance part, if you can strengthen it, including the IT Act, including so many things which are required. Legal में बहुत झोल है under various, whether it is a Trust Act or whether it is Societies Act or it is the Companies Act. So governance part is extremely important. Somebody has done a will, तो वो will का probate कैसे करना है? Probate मतलब क्या? Okay, all these things become important because we are going to senior citizens requesting them to will their property to NGOs because they are staying alone. Until that time, the volunteers will help. लेकिन उसके बाद में दूसरे 10 लोग खड़े हो जाते हैं because we have never registered that will. हमको पता ही नहीं था, हम पूरे पैशन पे जाते हैं. I started telling students, भगवान ने दिमाग दिया, दिमाग ऊपर है दिल से. Okay, so you have to think, if the brain is located above the heart, then you think by your heart, but use the logic of the brain also. So the law, you can't say I was not aware of this law. So I think that part is extremely important, which is there. And getting into the strategic management business, which is very important. हम पूरे भाईचारे में जाते हैं, वैसे नहीं होता है. वो भाईचारा वगैरह ठीक है, लेकिन you have to understand at the end, okay, if you're getting European funding, if you're getting funding from Ngos, if you're getting from other places, this whole thing works on conditionalities. So these are conditions which are there. So you have to expose people to these very difficult areas. Okay, not that funding, because each funding agency has an agenda. And you require to understand, is that agenda good for me or bad for me? And whether should I require to go? This whole thing about during pandemic, couple of my students who got into fundraising, e-fundraising. So the whole thing about के गूंज, which is into theater, उसके साथ में क्लब करके वो लिंक भेज के भाई एक गाना सुनो और पैसा दे दो. I mean, so that is the type. So young people have started gathering these funds through that e-link, which is appreciative. Okay, don't just give us the fund, you enjoy. You have a Sunday evening, relax. You got tired looking at the same television program and looking at the COVID score in all states and which state is doing good, bad, which country. So take a break. This is 2 hours complete, entertainment for you. So people have raised fund. Vivekanand Youth Forum, which one of my students has started, we raised 7 lakhs. ये गाना गा के dance करके. Okay, it sounds very, crude, but way in which I'm putting it. But these are new ways of fundraising. So the whole ways in which NGOs can raise funds, you should, call people from IntelliCap and other type of things, that what type of investors support. Social impact investment matlab kya hai? Social impact bond kya hai? These things are extremely important because we are going to go through that bond way. Educate Girls is the first NGO in the country to get into social impact bonds. Look at, Grameen Bank. They are into social impact bonds. So these things, students will have to be taught about it. We have to, where casework, group work, community work is extremely important. I'm not undermining that because these are basic skills you require. But then uske upar ke level ke skills bhi humko dene hain unko. And as my co-panelists have rightly said, you require to have people fully competent. Okay, social worker ek business. If Ramdev Baba can start a bloody business, yoga karte, why can't we do? Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Yes. Already Madam has described many things and she don't leave anything for me actually. But SDGs are the 17 or 16 area where social work can think about. We are thinking. So if you are talking about the area, not about the skill, various areas already has given in SDGs, and according to specialization, according to need, you can think about. But as ma'am has said, ki we are not predictors for the future. What will happen today, we don't know, because in this area we don't know, we didn't know ki in the July, and we were talking about like that we are busy, we should have busy in examination, results and admission, but we are talking about what will the future of social work. So this is the way we can't say. But in this pandemic situation, we have already thought and we are thinking about the public health system, involvement of social work professional in public health in better way, not in that way which we had done in past. Now it is in the better way, managed way, organized way, and a strategic way. The one thing. Second thing, social.
Little louder.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Can you be a little louder? Yeah.
Okay, I will try. So the other area is counseling, guidance, and advocacy. We use the term, means the social worker always used the term counseling, guidance, advocacy. But what does mean by counseling, guidance, and advocacy? Very few people know. So we have to understand the counseling, guidance, and advocacy in new era, in new arena, and through new lenses. Because the need of counseling, that is the need of our. But which type of counseling? This is important. The student has to understand, and the professional has to understand, and the practitioner has to understand what is counseling. One professor said to me that by reading a book of counseling, you should not be a counselor. That has to be understood by the people. That by the reading a chapter or by reading a topic, they are not supposed to be counselor. Counselor means some specific job. Guidance is some specific one. And the third one, which is very important, that is the research and statistics. Use of statistics, use of big data, I previously mentioned, and a better researcher, a better social worker. So research and statistics should be more focused in the coming area. Madam talk about mental health. We can add disability too. And workforce issue is a major concern of us. In coming 10 years, workforce issue will be the area of concern for the social worker, because we have just seen that the migrant workers suffering for a variety of problems. So we have to manage our workforce, and social work has to take the responsibility in workforce management. So this is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Tony, sir.
Yeah. There are few areas which already my co-panelist has mentioned, but according to my understanding and my engagement here, one area of focus that needs to be there is on social management and governance. This was a felt need by the government of Gujarat as well as government of India then in 2009-10, and that is why Central University of Gujarat has started this program. So maybe in the long run we will share the syllabus of that. It's a 5-year integrated program wherein we have, because they had students coming in after social work as well as students coming in after management, and the bureaucrats have felt, I mean, those people who were engaging in the development sector has felt that there is something missing in both these sections, and there needs to be an integration of these two disciplines. So that is one of the reason why we started this program on social management, and the whole framework is on a governance framework. The holistic governance framework has been dealt with there. So one area, if you may ask me, I would suggest that social management and governance would be one of the area that could be looked into. The next one would be embracing technology to enhance practice. All of the panelists has agreed, especially engaging with big data. One example of big data, ethical use of big data. For example, if we have in the long run, as we said, that artificial intelligence and all is coming, wherein big corporates could know what not just above your skin but below your skins, I mean your emotions and so on and so forth, by understanding the trends. So if, for example, if there is a possibility of having cancer at the age of 30 or at the age of 50 or 60, if you have this artificial intelligence and algorithms in place, you would be that those people who are having that sequencing and that trending of these things could identify this particular individual or sets of individuals could have a possibility of cancer at a particular age. So this is what is about this thing of using of artificial intelligence and big data. But if that is misused, that can be used against a particular community or a particular group or a society and so on and so forth. That is where I stated that there should be ethical use of artificial intelligence at all. So obviously we need to focus on one area of embracing technology to enhance practice, including big data. Then the other aspect is on criminal justice social work. In India, this is one of the social work institution, social work area wherein it started as a specialization from TIS, but this is being neglected, and there are lots of care. This is one of the most neglected community in social work practice. For example, those who are with the correctional institutions, with the prisons, sorry, with the juvenile justice, with the police, judiciary. So there, police social work, where criminal justice social work, and this area is one of a scope area where there is plenty of work that could be looked into. Then the other area is on mental health with family counseling and guidance. Now, if you look into the national education policy, where it talks about having one counselor at each school, and this has been already taken up by the NAPSI and so on and so forth. So I think that is also one area, counseling, engagement with family, because Corona has taught us that family is more as an important institution. So that aspects, mental health could be the area which we could focus on. Then the other aspect, because most of the violations are happening in the context of environment. So that is also one area where we need to, as social work educators or educations, we need to focus on. But again, after saying all these, the two important goals for education that we need to be constantly engaging or constantly educating ourselves or constantly focusing as educators are, as Professor Harari talked about, is to develop emotional intelligence and to have mental balance. These are the two things that needs to be engaged in some way or the other within our syllabus, so that we can be prepared to reinvent ourselves, to engage in any set of new context and new environment and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Soni sir. I'm quite glad that many of the things that came up in this session on all the three panels together, there are many things that we have in our curriculum. So I think we are quite placed in a good situation, and there are many good suggestions there, which we will try to definitely incorporate. And maybe for details, we may get back to you to learn more from you regarding how we can incorporate those and train our students to become better social workers, rather better professional social workers in the years to come. Thank you so much. This was a very interesting session indeed.
Sir, I have one question to Soni sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, actually, you have worked in correctional field, and we can see in your biodata also there is so much work you have done in correctional field. So we want to know, like during this pandemic, how can we address or how this issue of criminals or juveniles during pandemic? How can we understand their needs and how can we do social work with them? Because during this pandemic, we are at our home. During this pandemic, we are locked down. So how do we understand their problems, their issues? They cannot meet their relatives or they cannot share what they are feeling or whatever. So do you have any kind of suggestions for our students?
Especially in engaging with criminal justice, it's an area where you need to have a close understanding and close working relationship with the state government. For example, one of our students has worked in Sabarmati prison. So it was very difficult to have visit these to look into the childrens of women prisoners who are there, to study those aspects of that. So we had only 4 or 5 visits to complete master's dissertation. So in that context, it is very difficult. But if there is an environment that is there which could help, that means there is an engagement with the state government, then it is possible. And use of technology at this particular. This is a stage we will pass on. So at this particular stage, use of technology could be one of the ways in addressing. Yes, it cannot be completely done, but to a great extent, it is possible.
Interrupt, but in Gujarat, Vadodara, they are not allowing us to do field work with.
Yes,
That
yes,
is I have this question.
Yes. Obviously, because one way, how do we get through is that we, as I stated earlier, I am also associated with Raksha Shakti University, which is already a state university where they are developing professionals for criminal justice. So through them, actually, we were able to engage with it. So those engagements were helpful. So the point is that it is very difficult area to engage or to get into it. But if we as social work institutions in Gujarat, if we can have a network, here lies the importance of having network with across different institutions. I was also, when I came here, I was not able to have access to these correctional institutions. Somehow I was able to get as a visiting faculty there in Raksha Shakti University. Through those engagement, through somehow I was able to reach out to these institutions or these correctional settings. So likewise, and we were able to, even from our university, we were able to place students in police station settings and so on and so forth. Even initially, it was a very difficult situation. So it is all with the network among social work institutions in Gujarat. I'm sure that if we that this will help us in engaging in a better way. At present, it is very difficult. Yes, there are lot of work that can be done and that can help those people being there.
Because there are few students who wants to do master thesis with prisoners and juveniles, but they are not allowed to take data and information from them. So sometimes they feel that we are studying correctional social work, but still we don't have any kind of first-hand experience that we can talk about. If I give you example that there are first-time offenders also. Okay, and there are some offenders who have done crime in self-defense also. So during that time, they want to understand what were the situations, what were the circumstances. They never wanted to commit crime, but now it happened. Now they cannot undo those things. So they want to talk with them. They want to counsel them. They want to understand the situations in which they have committed crime so that they can guide other people from preventing that. So we are always having this dilemma that we are unable to send our children to prisons or jails or juvenile homes. Sometimes juvenile homes are giving us permission but not allowing us to do case studies. So
maybe I would request you to tie up with the Raksha Shakti University, because I go there. I have seen many students working with under trials, first time offenders, and so on and so forth. So I think there are possibilities. If you this is the area where slowly network will help in getting our students there. Maybe you need to have a co-guide from there or something, that sort of, maybe a co-guide from the institution itself. So that would help. It is very difficult. I understand it very clearly. I also, for example, my own PhD was on police accountability. It took, and I was doing from JNU Law and Governance. It took me for 1 year to get the clearance of Government of Kerala with all my questionnaires to interview the police constables there at police stations. So it is very difficult, but as if there is a passion, there is a way out in engaging and networking with like-minded institutions who can engage with it.
Sanjay sir wants to say something.
First of all, I want to compliment all your three panelists. You have chosen very nicely. Dr. Soni and, they spoke from their own platform, from their own ground and their own specialization, especially on your question which you asked about the future of social work. I just want to add that what Professor Meena said, it was wonderful. I mean, it's a wonderful visualization of that what future is going to have it. But at the same time, the social entrepreneurship, the existence of NGOs, the domestic funding. There are many issues are likely to come up, whether this government or that government, doesn't make much difference. But issues will be coming up very shortly and very soon. What I foresee in time to come in 20 years, that most of the schools of social work, they have to declare themselves in one or other field, because social work, by virtue of being a relationship based core practice, we are present in every field, across the field you take, across the constituencies. We work with women, we work with children, we work with disability, we work with transgender, we work with workers, we work with migrant workers, we work with the industrial organization, we work with the mental health. So this is one our advantage, and this is also one of our weakness also, that we are diffused, worked at so many places. Similarly, we are over ambitious in certain matters, that we want to teach everything under the sun to our students. So what I foresee, that in time to come, the institution have to make them specialize in one or two or three areas maximum. Now it's up to the Rachna University whether they want to produce the HR managers, they want to produce the social work professionals working in correctional, or or they want to produce for social entrepreneurs. What is the vision and mission of your organization? That will also determine the course of action in coming years. Because so far in social work, there were two streams. One was the generic stream. We used to take students into the generic training, and some were the specialization, which has always been questioned. They said you teach two papers to the student, and they themselves call that we are a specialist. So there are certain debates within the profession which need to be taken into the open, and we cannot hide many things which our profession is suffering, and we have to bring them on forefront for discussion and find out the solutions. So I'm really happy that this seminar is talking about a number of things, especially Dr. Galeria has very beautifully explained some of the issues, sometimes in a very lighter manner, very serious issues. But I'm really happy and I'm thankful. I got opportunity to listen these young future leaders of social work. I'm really very happy, and I am once again assured that future of social work is in safe hand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So can I just compliment Mr. Bhatt? Yeah, Mr. Bhatt, are you online?
Yes.
Is he online?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. After I heard you in the morning, I thought this seminar khatam ho gaya, because there was nothing left. Okay, so I had to literally struggle. I said he has spoken, so he has taken everything at that inaugural address, and so that covers. And जो बोलते हैं ना कि धीरे का धक्का जोरों से लगे, that sort of a thing it was, So बराबर कपड़े में लगा के आपने दिया था वो के. So I'm going to become a member of NASVI. I'm still not. I should be very honest. So I'm going to fill up the form and become the member first. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
We are also institutional member, but now we will become individual members.
Yeah, individual members. वही कहा ना कि धीरे का धक्का जोरों से लगे. So he actually showed the mirror. So yeah. That was the thing. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dr. Soni and Dr. Pandey. We are very, very passionate people. I could make out from your speech, which is there. And Bhatt, of course, I've heard him a lot of times, and he's by mistake, I think, would say in social work he should be in politics, because he can make many people show the mirror. That's very important, because we require such people very upfront, okay, to tell them what they are. So thank you. And Archana, thank you so much, and Nilay and his whole team, everyone over there. it was nice listening and updating yourself as to what is happening in different places, to look at different ideologies, and not just that we become members of NASWI, we have to become members as wherever possible, because network is the thing which is going to happen. So NASWI is extremely important. If we are required to, because we have selected this profession, we should be part of it, but even other places. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for your attention.
Yeah.
Now I would like to hand over the session to Ritu Patel, who is the senior social work student at Navrasna University.
Thank you, Pranav. So good evening, everyone. Myself, Ritu Patel, senior MSW student from Navrasna University. What an appreciating speech, helping us to find a way to shine. It's a pleasure of mine to be here. Now, I would like to call Mrs. Priyanka Shah, our teacher and one of our family member of Navrasna University, to present the summary of the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rutu. The future of social work. I mean, a huge, when we were deciding upon the theme, we were really deliberating what to do, what not to do, how to go about doing it. And under the guidance of Sanjay sir, I think we've got a very good theme, and we had really good discussions through the day. I will make a modest effort to try and summarize the session for all of us. The seminar the webinar has been in collaboration with MAPSMI and Navrasna University, as everyone knows. The provost and vice chancellor, Mr. Professor Nilay Yagnik, he made the welcome speech, introduced Navrasna University to larger social work fraternity, talked about interdisciplinary ideologies and innovations being the pillar of Navrasna University, also about a newly inaugurated Center for Heritage, this heritage research. Also spoke about the importance of interdisciplinary work and in current times. I mean, that's where this has been one of the biggest takeaways in today's session. Is interdisciplinary work will become the focus in the coming times. Our message from our mentor in absentia, Ms. Priya Mistry, highlighted on social development will be the core of social work always. And newer areas of social work interventions were highlighted with wider scope of social work during crisis. The inaugural address by Mr. Brajesh Chaudhary, who is the head CSR, spoke about how corporates and companies and society needs to work hand in hand to ensure intangible values, which have to be created for the society, not only by social workers, but also the employees and employees of the company. At large, innovation again in CSR needs to be very critical, and identification and working with stakeholders is going to play a huge role. Dr. Tomar, our program chair, Navrasna University, Mr. spoke about future of social work, what kind of raised questions of what kind of new normal will be required during this change, what will be the new concern areas in the nation, care essentials, areas concerns observed during lockdown, and what will be the future ahead, setting up the tone for the presidential address by Professor Sanjay Bhatt. And like what Meena ma'am just said, he swept away the entire day's session, very, very crucially spoke about a lot of things, environment and public health coming in as emerging sectors, from social distancing to personal distancing, what he really said, and that's what all of us, I think, agree to the fact that personal distancing is something that should be used rather than social distancing. How can we be socially distant when we are social animals? Social work having an enormous role to play in current times, family which has emerged as a key player in mitigating this crisis. His suggestion of national family enrichment system, social work has, and he kept saying that social work will and always has in the past played a pivotal role in in bringing in changes, and will do in the future as well. Post that, we had a break and we had three panelists, amazing panelists, sessions. Lot of deliberations have come across again. starting with Dr. Bansidhar Pandey, talking about how public health will be the future of social work. Social workers have to upgrade on their guidance and counseling skills. Maybe new clientele is going to emerge for social work, and even with the old clientele, maybe newer issues which have been posed during the lockdown, and integrating technology and social work and ethical social work practice. Dr. Soni Kunjalban talked about nature of jobs changing on a regular basis. Care and experience of social workers will be required in current times for determining the future of social work. Role of social work association, basically forming a social work association and being associated with an association to become stronger as a voice, and level of leadership has improvised. The current times need technology. I think one of the biggest key takeaways from the session could be technology as well. Like Meena Garyara ma'am in the final session said that she threw light on how dimensions of globalization have affected social work agencies and vocational trainings, which needs to be probably started right from the school levels, because the market need educated and skilled manpower. Technology and technical competence is a must in today's time. Integrating business models in NGO strategic project management is going to take the pivotal role. It's going to play a pivotal role. Key takeaways: integrating technology. Maybe if I sum up everything in one slide, and I have to say key takeaways would be integrating technology and development communication in social work curriculum, redefining, rethinking on innovative ways of conducting fieldwork, strengthening guidance and counseling in social work education, addressing new segments of stakeholders, and maybe the newer issues of various other stakeholders, integrating NGOs and business models in NGOs and CSR strategic project management, new areas of probably what actually came through very clearly was new areas of even faculty development would be required to handle social work education for the newer generations and the new normal. Enormous opportunities, but all of us agreed after at the end of the day and deliberations that enormous opportunities have been created during this situation, and social work is for everyone and is here to stay. Thank you very much. Yes, Rutu.
Over to you, Rutu.
Okay, yes. Yes. So thank you, Priyanka ma'am. We are humbled and grateful for the short highlights. Now I would like to call Ms. Merlin Fernandez, senior MSW student from Navrashna University, to invite Ms. Tejal Amin. Over to you, Merlin.
Good evening, everyone and all present here. It's a privilege and honor to introduce Mrs. Tejal Amin, the chairperson of Navrachna University. She has been closely associated with industry, education, and social cultural activities in Vadodara since the last 35 years. As chairperson of a 55-year-old Navrachna Education Society, she has driven its qualitative expansion from a single institution to one that has initiated 8 more institutions, including 3 leading colleges affiliated to state, national, and international education boards. She is a director of Jyoti Limited and full-time director of JSL Industry Mogar. Both are leading engineering companies in India, manufacturing high technology engineering products. In 2014, she was nominated as brand ambassador of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan in the state. She has been a governor nominee, member of Senate and Syndicate of the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. She is also the founding director and chairperson, organizing committee of the Vadodara Marathon. The Association of International Marathon has given the Vadodara Marathon the title Smallest City, Biggest Marathon. In 2016, she was conferred with Glory of Gujarat Award by the Indian Council of Social Welfare Gujarat State, presented by the Honorable Governor of Gujarat, Shri O.P. Kohli. Ma'am, it's an immense pleasure to have you here, and once again, I welcome you to the webinar. And over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for the rather long introduction. I wish you would, in a webinar, keep the introductions short. I'm very happy to participate in this, very timely and much needed webinar on social work education and practice in COVID times. The Dalai Lama has said, it is not enough to be compassionate, you must act. Over the previous session and the deliberations and the views shared by our very eminent panel, I'm sure there is a very good insight into the way forward for social work, education and practice. We meet in very unprecedented circumstances. Almost unbelievable if we were actually not living through them. This pandemic, like our keynote speaker at Navratna Day Foundation yesterday said, Mr. Santosh Desai, the eminent brand guru, writer and thinker and author, that, we have seen pandemics in the past, we have seen disasters in the past, both natural and man-made, but nothing has, captured the world like this one. It is not seeing geographical locations, it is beyond caste, creed, religion, color, and we do not see an end in the near future. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but the light is quite weak. I'm sure as a human species, we will overcome this one like we have the others. But also we must remember that it will be a new world order. It will be, I hope we come out of this pandemic wiser and make more sustainable, inclusive lifestyle choices. I know all of you social work students, faculty, and professionals who are engaged in alleviating the difficulties of the disadvantaged sections of disadvantaged groups of people. Your urge to go out and do the work that you do would be the most intense right now, because every day on television we see suffering, we see people going without medical help, not enough medical help, and we see people dying. Frontline workers, police, compromised individuals, and even young people now. How do we deal with this situation, especially when the world is going to become poorer? We all know that the world GDP is going to drop by about 4 to 5%. We see the number of people losing their jobs, losing their livelihoods, businesses completely at a standstill. There will be a new order, but the new order will come after a lot of turbulence. How do we deal with this turbulence? And how do, in particular, social workers and social work professionals extend their expertise, help, and support to the most needy? Like Santosh Desai again said yesterday, that in this catastrophe, if we were to call it one, lies many opportunities. There is always, the world has always seen huge disruptions for innovation and new models to emerge. And this also would be one of those. But before we go there, we need to set our house in order. And the eminent panelists must have thrown a lot of light on the way forward. There will be a new order. There has to be new thinking. Our education is changing. We have seen at Navratna University, one of the earliest universities in Gujarat, who moved from the physical classroom to online classroom almost immediately after the first lockdown was announced on March 14. Our faculty, led by our provost, Professor Yagnik, and supported by our registrar, Mr. Rajesh Talati, and his administrative team, created the software, the hardware, and the means and the resources to ensure that our students were engaged gainfully. Courses were completed by our faculty who embraced technology very quickly, adapted their teaching from classroom to online, which is quite different, requires different skills, and completed their syllabi on time, even held the examinations. We are done, we are finished with our end semester exams, and we are all geared to start our new semester on July 14. We have adapted. But in case of social work, where there is a lot of physical contact which is necessary, there seems to be much room for creative thinking and creative strategies. I'm so glad that that our program of our Masters in Social Work program has come up with this webinar, and for our faculty and for all of you who are attending this webinar, there will be many takeaways to create new models of education for social work and also its practice in the field. Thank you for inviting me, and I wish all the participants success and enlightenment and enrichment from this seminar. My heartiest gratitude to all the panelists for sparing your valuable time and sharing your expertise with our participants and our faculty and students. Thank you.
Rutu, if you could unmute yourself and take the session ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Tejal ma'am. You are an inspiration for us and we appreciate your consideration. Now I would like to call Harsh Chauhan, our senior MSW student, to invite Professor Ankur Saxena. Over to you, Harsh.
Thank you, Ritu. Good evening, everyone. This is Harsh Chauhan, Senior Master of Social Work from Navraj University. It's my privilege to introduce to you Dr. Ankur Saxena. He is a Senior Professor at MS University, Baroda, Gujarat. He has 21 years of experience in teaching. He also holds the post of Joint Secretary at NAFST. He has completed 6 projects till date and has an immense experience in social work, human resource management, CSR, medical department, and psychiatric social work. He has to his credit 7 books published, 20 articles, and has awarded 8 of his students in PhD. He has been an advisor at Navrashna University in Master of Social Work program since its inception. I would now like to hand over the session to Professor Ankur Saxena.
Thank you. Very good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you so much, Archana Madam, Priyanka, Priya, for giving me this opportunity to say a few words. What will be the future of social work post COVID 2019? Of course, we had experts who had shared their experiences, Professor Bhatt, Professor Navle, Bansidharji, and other galaxy of speakers who have talked about what will be the future. Friends, social work is a profession which talks about preventive, curative, and the developmental perspective. This is not an end of it, or we need to get scared. But yes, what I have learned in this future, what will be the future of social work profession in COVID 2019 is we have to upgrade ourselves. We have to reskill ourselves. We have to understand ourselves. We have to learn innovation, as Tejal Madam rightly said that, okay, of course, we cannot go out, but yes, there is a lot of room of creativity which is there. And I think it's the onus of having that creativity has to be.
Ankur, sir.
Yeah. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So the onus of creativity has to be on us as students, as teachers. We look at field work. Okay, right now there are a lot of deliberations, NAPSV, some of the bodies, some of the schools of social work, they had come down that, okay, how should we go for fieldwork? What would be the, how things can be taken care of? Because right now, as we look at the increase in the cases of COVID, so safety is very, very important. How youths can play an important role. And I think this online development of e-content is very, very important. I was hearing to one of the head of the Department of Social Work or Pondicherry University Department of Social Work. So what they did was they have used mass media. They have used local televisions where the students, they have created in-house programs, and those programs have been live very telecasted in the evening to entire Pondicherry. Okay. Of course, I cannot go to the field to work. I can go, but then again, there is a lot of, you have to use, you have to follow the norms. A lot of PPs have to be used. Okay, but then again, looking to the cost factor, we are not able to do that. Okay, agencies are also little bit scared. They are skeptical that, okay, whether should we allow the students to come or not. But yes, what can we do in-house? I think the fieldwork practicum has to be from in-house. Can the students within the faculty create some of the in-house content, and that can be displayed, that can be broadcasted in the evening across the a particular city? I think this is the change that has to be done. We have to be more informed. We should not be feel scared about it. A lot of panic attacks are there, a lot of anxiety attacks are there. What will happen to my job? Yes, we do understand they are right also, but we need not to get panic. That is not the solution. We have to take this opportunity as a positive. I have never touched wood. I say in all the webinars, I've never thought of using Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams, but now it has taught me. This will be the new norm. This will be the new normal that is going to come. We have to upgrade ourselves. A lot of e-libraries are there, a lot of e-books are there. And in lockdown, so many good publication houses, they have given free access to their books. And I think this is how we as the students, as the faculty members, as a social work profession, we need to upgrade ourselves in terms of the skills, in terms of the knowledge. Please stay away. I request the youths to please stay away from the fake news. A lot of fake news is being circulated on this WhatsApp university. It is causing stress, it is causing anxiety, it is causing panic attacks. Please don't forward, please just read it and forget the message is there. We have got a habit, okay, I don't know the authenticity, and I start forwarding to different groups. A lot of fake news is being coming up. Can the students upgrade? Look at the Corona anthem, which was made by the youth of the slums of the Dharavi in Mumbai, and that has been gone viral like anything. They have included the Bollywood stars also. See, it's a wow. See the creativity. See the innovation of those youths. And I think this is where is the role of a social work professionals. Can we have a tele-counseling services? There are, as per the news day before yesterday reported, and during the lockdown also, there were a lot of issues of domestic violence. Can we, as a university, can we, as a students of social work, can we have a online tele-counseling services for those victims of domestic violence? And as rightly Tejal madam said, what is that creativity? And this is the where creativity have to, but then as Dalai Lama, as per Tejal madam said, Dalai Lama said that, okay, fine, it's good to be compassionate, but we need to act upon. And I think we as a schools of social work, we as professionals, we as student worker, we have to find out what ways we can bring about the change. What can be the R&D? Can we have a trial and error? Can we experiment it? It's not necessary that everything will be successful. But then we can think differently. What can be that innovations? How can we reach to the marginalized sections of the society? What can we do for those migrant workers? It is just not only one particular community to take care of all the community people, the poor, the poorest of the poor, the migrant workers. And this is exactly where our role as a social work professionals is. How can we reach out? I'm not saying we want to bring a revolution, but at least can we do something within our society? Maybe our family may not allow to go out, but can we do something good? Can we act as an act of kindness to the poor sections?
I think we are facing some internet connectivity issue with Sir. Let's just wait for him to connect back. Good, sir. I think we lost him. We'll just try to connect back with him. He's just connecting back. I request the participants' patience. All right, he's back with us.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I start, please?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so how our field courses, method courses, and background courses can be used? How can we make best use of those when we talk about social work education? What will be the future of social work? Do we need to get scared and sit doing nothing? Oh, what can I do? Yes, friends, each of us has got a lot of potentials and capacities to bring about that change. And I think a lot of people have done a lot of immense good work, at least especially for the poorest of the poor section of the society, at least for those people who were the hardest stuck during this lockdown. Lot of celebrities, lot of individuals, lot of communities, community kitchens were started, lot of things came in. I'm every day reminded in the evening at DTB that the langars have been initiated by gurdwaras. Food was given, ration were given. The government is doing its might. Government has taken a lot of initiative, and as per Honorable Prime Minister of India, he announced recently that till November 2020, free ration will be provided to all the poor sections of the society. Friends, these are the small ways and means as an act of kindness where we can take care of it. How can we take care of the youth? How can we take care of the children? How can we take care of different sections, vulnerable sections of the society? And that the role and responsibility lies with us, people like you and me, the students, the social work professionals, the fraternity, the administrator, the practitioners, the civil society organizations. And if we want to bring about a change in this, when we talk about this future of social work education during COVID-19 2019, okay, we have to have hand holding. It is just not only an initial or a single person is going to do, but then there has to be a hand holding of all the stakeholders of the society. Then only the change can be possible. But yes, we have to be innovative. We just don't have to sit down across, oh, what can I do? We can do a lot. The youth can do a lot. There were a lot of potentials, tremendous potentials and capacities. And I think this is how that change will take place. We have to become more assertive. Look at the environment, look at the as per the data which was being given by one of the leading news channel, that says around 10 crore of the Indian population have lost their jobs just because of this lockdown. Friends, apart from this, I look this lockdown as an opportunity where I have upgraded myself. I have put in a lot of changes within myself in terms of skills, in terms of knowledge, in terms of attitudes. I think we'll never get this. Of course, I've got sympathies for people who have died. But yes, staying at home has helped me to learn a lot of things. And this is where yes, how we can do. We have to think for others. The role of social work, the future of social work education is we have to think for others. Then only we can expect a change. And if we say, nahi, mujhe kya lena dena, so I think, no, that is not a right attitude. We have to start thinking because they are our fellow brothers and sisters. A lot of things are there, I have to say, but yes, due to paucity of the time, I'll just say we each of us has to get together and then we can bring about the change. So whether it is a field work, whether is your social work education, we have to become sensitive. Now it is not the survival of the fittest, but according to me, it is survival of the kindness. Fittest and fastest has gone. Now it is the survival of the kindness, which is one of a very important attribute which the nation needs. Practice upon, and I think that is what, according to me, when I look at future of social work education, COVID 2019. These are some of my thoughts, which I have just put it into picture. So once again, I would like to thank the entire organizing team of Navrachna University for giving this opportunity. Provost Sir, Tijal Madam, so Archana Madam, thank you so much. In fact, for giving me this opportunity. Yeah, thank you so much. Priyanka and Priya.
Thank you, Professor Saxena. We appreciate your guidance. Last, no duty is more urgent than returning thanks. So I would like to call Priya ma'am to give the vote of thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rutu. Good evening, everyone. I, Ms. Priya Mistry, would like to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Navrachna University. I am privileged to propose vote of thanks. I take this opportunity to thank Professor Nilayarni, Provost Navrachna University, to lead us in our endeavors. He has always been encouraging in any initiatives taken by us. I would extend my heartfelt thanks to all the speakers, starting from Mr. Brajesh Chaudhary, for agreeing to our invitation and giving such wonderful insight on social work in the new normal. Professor Sanjay Bhatt, we cannot thank you adequately. You have been instrumental in many ways to support our program and its progress. Thank you for collaborating with Navrachna University for this one-day webinar. I would like to thank all our panelists, Dr. Soni Kunjappan, Dr. Meena Galyara, Dr. Bansidhar Pandey, for throwing light on eminent issues pertaining to social work and its related aspects. My heartfelt thanks to Mrs. Tejal ma'am. Your vision has inspired many of us and it will always. And Professor Ankur Saxena, sir, your guidance has been with us right from the beginning of the program. We will always cherish it. Thank you for giving valedictory address. A seminar cannot be successful without audience and all the students of social work. All of us are learners and continue to learn. A big thanks to Dinesh sir and Animesh sir. Once again, thanks from Navrachna University Social Work Department, School of Literary Studies and Applications. Thank you one and all for making this seminar a wonderful success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We officially declare the seminar ended now and shall be closing the link to the meeting soon. Thank you very much.